Welcome to the program, everyone. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I've got a lot to cover today. Your calls certainly are welcome. I'm going to talk in the beginning about the judge arrest, which are spectacular, but I'm going to start with this ridiculous poll story that they have. Trump has the lowest approval rating in 80 years. Give me a freaking break, right? I'm going to break that down. I'm going to tell you the truth about the poll. And it is such a BS poll. But we'll get to that in a few minutes. If you're new, my name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe. We'll be live in 15 seconds, so stand by. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is a MAGA Monday morning, isn't it? My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to Florida's longest running radio show, the Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. We have so much to cover. I'm going to get into the glorious, beautiful arrest of those judges by Pam Bondi and the FBI over the weekend. But I'm going to start with something else first. And this is this completely nonsense story that Trump has the lowest approval rating in 80 years. President Trump just won a second and non-consecutive term, which has only happened once before. That alone shows how incredibly popular he is. Not only did he just win a second and non-consecutive term, he won every single battleground toss-up state. And in liberal states around the country that did go blue, he flipped a whole bunch of counties in them red, like California. 10, 12 counties went red that normally are, blue counties. So the idea that he is unpopular is insane on the face of it. But I'm going to go through this because what I did was pull up the actual methodology of the poll. But first, let me read the fake news story about it. This is in Mediaite, which is pretty left-wing. Here's the headline: Shock poll. Trump's approval rating plummets to lowest in 80 years for a president at the 100-day mark. Now, this is Trump's second 100 days, just so you know. I mean, just to try to argue that a president who just won his second non-consecutive term is not popular, that doesn't even make sense. There are not comeback stories like this. I mean, it's not even credible. That's one of those things that doesn't even pass the smile test. But let me read to you from Liberal Mediaite, and then I'm going to go to the methodology of who and how they polled, okay? Back to Mediaite. If a shocking new poll is to be believed. See, even there, Liberal Mediaite is letting you know, we don't really want to be married to this poll. We don't believe it. If a shocking new poll is to be believed, that's the first part of the first sentence in their liberal story. Doesn't sound like they have a lot of confidence in the poll. The honeymoon for President Donald Trump is very much over as his second term hits the 100-day mark. See, they're upset that not only is he doing so incredibly well, he's having his rally in Michigan this week celebrating the 100 days, so they're trying to discount it. According to a poll out early Sunday from Fake News ABC News, Fake News The Washington Post, and Ipsos, just 39% of respondents said they approve of Trump's job performance, while a whopping 55% said they disagree. Okay, now I'm not going to go through the breakdown of their garbage, but I do feel that this fake news poll is like going viral. The media are obsessed with it. They're all going to be. So I think that once per hour, I might go over this on the program today. That'll be 3 times. I think I should because people tuning in that may not have heard this hour, it's important to set the record straight. Now, I am not someone who follows polls. I talk about them sometimes when they're in the news like this, but I'm not a follower of polls, okay? Polls, these are fake polls, push polls, all kinds of other things. But anytime that I talk about a poll that's out there, if I can find it, I pull up the actual poll and go to the methodology. The methodology breaks down how they polled, okay? And I did that for this. This is the Fake News ABC poll. Listen to this. Methodology. This is the ABC News poll. You have to scroll way down to find it. And actually, it was kind of hard to find it. It was so buried in their poll. Here's the methodology of the poll. This ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll. Now, ABC and Washington Post hate Trump like the plague. Washington Post is an arm of the deep state, right? That's the way that it is. The ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll was conducted online. Online? How do you conduct a scientific poll online? How do you conduct a scientific poll online? You know how? You don't. This ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll was conducted online via the probability-based Ipsos Knowledge Panel from April 18th to the 22nd. In English and Spanish? What? This is a poll of the President of the United States. So they conducted it online, which is impossible to do a scientific poll on, and they polled in English and Spanish? Are you kidding me? Among a random national sample of 2,464 adults. Now, I know a little bit about polling. I know a lot about polling. There are, even with these push polls, there are scientific polls and then there are fake push polls like this. Okay? I'm not even done yet. The different types of polls when it comes to politics are likely voters. That's the first sample. A sample of registered voters, and then a sample of Americans. And then a sampling of adults. Okay? The further down on the list you get, the more left-leaning and unscientific it gets. Likely voters, which is the most scientific of all polling samples, but they can manipulate that too, but likely voters is the most scientific of all voting samples. It's registered voters that have voted in the past 2 elections and plan on voting in the next. That's not who they polled. The next are registered voters. Now, people can be registered and never vote in their life. That one starts to really lean liberal, right? Then you have a poll of Americans. They may not even be registered to vote. And then finally, you have a poll of adults. Well, these are adults. And they did the polling in English and Spanish. These adults may not even be American. They may be Central American, they may be South American, but they may not be United States of American. So this poll is as crooked as the day is long. Let me start over with this short paragraph because I don't want any of this to be lost. And I wasn't going to lead with this today. Who wants to lead talking about math? But this poll is being so misrepresented in the fake news media to try to bring down Trump's 100-day Michigan rally celebration. I feel obligated to go through this, and I am going to do this once per hour, although as the show goes on, I may do it a little briefer. You're getting the long version now. Okay, back to the methodology of the fake news poll. This ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll was conducted online via the probability-based Ipsos Knowledge Panel from April 18th to the 22nd in English and Spanish, among a random national sample of 2,464 adults. Divisions are 30, 29%. Democrats, Republicans, Independents. So they say they interviewed 30% Democrat, 30% Republican, and 29% Independents. Well, from my experience, independents are lying Democrats, okay? Lying Democrats. So they have a poll of 69% of people who didn't vote for Trump, right? For sure, because they're left. They're either Democrats or independents. So they're liberal. They have 69% of those polled are liberal, 30% are Republican. And even with that kind of sampling, he's not doing that bad. But if you sample almost 70% never Trumpers, which is what they did, okay? 70% never Trumpers, I think he did very well in that poll, don't you? The only opinions that matter are those of Republicans that voted for him right now. This is nonsense. They polled 70% never Trumper, and they want you to accept that as reality? Now, the methodology of this poll, I posted to my X, Brian Craig Show on X. You can go to my X, you can pull this up, methodology, it's on page 7 of the poll, and you can read through this yourself. I'm not going to bother going through all the numbers of the poll, but the methodology, anytime I talk about a poll, if I can find the methodology, it's not always available. But when you see a poll that shows Trump not doing well, when you go to the methodology, it's always crooked like this. Now, after the break, I'm going to get into the glorious, beautiful arrest of these corrupt judges over the weekend and talk to you about what the great Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Bongino are up to. Now, you're welcome to call in about anything I brought up so far. Our number's toll free no matter where you're listening, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. My name's Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. We'll be right back. And give me a break, guys. That's as clear as day. These people are sick. Sick. But I'm here to expose them. Yeah, I put the methodology of the poll right there on my X, Brian Craig Show on X. You can go there and check it out yourself. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, and if you're on hold, I'll go to the phones after the break. I mean, this is insane. I mean, that poll is like the least credible that a poll could possibly be. You can't get less credible than that. Now, if you're new to my channel, as you can tell, this is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe. Oh, yeah. President Trump's doing wonderful. He is doing spectacular. In fact, he could not be doing better. And you know what? These people in the media, they're just as aware of this poll methodology as I am, and they're hiding it from people. Yes. Can you guys see all the weight I've lost thanks to the Coastal Weight Loss Secret? I mean, look at this. When's the last time you see me tuck in really any shirt? See the belt, how far my belt is? I told you guys, it's like wrapping around my body. I need to put another hole in it. We'll be back in 1 minute. If you're on hold, hang in there. The toll-free number to call in is pinned in the live chat. Stand by. Welcome back, one and all. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. We are here live on this Monday morning. If you missed the first segment, you missed a lot. I broke down this fake news poll that they're running. Oh, Trump's got the lowest. I'm going to do that once an hour today. I really feel obligated to do it. I don't think anybody else is going to do it. It's a fake poll. I've got the methodology, and it's got to be done. All right, well, let's take some of these calls before I get into these beautiful arrest of these criminal judges. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
So my name's Anton. I'm from Canada, actually.
Okay, welcome.
Awesome. So I'm actually a big Trump supporter. I came in a big Trump supporter. I've been rooting for him since his last term. Canada, obviously has lots of problems with our liberal government and everything going on here with Justin Trudeau. He just stepped down. I love everything Trump's doing. All of the policies that he's put in, all of the progress that he's made so far. I can't get over his undying love for Israel. I can't do it. I don't understand why he isn't for the American people, and why it seems like he's for Israel over the American people. That's where I get caught up.
This is interesting. When you say the American people, you mean the people of the United States, not the people of North America, right?
Of course.
Okay, now I'm glad you called. You don't even really have a Canadian accent. You could pass as an American almost.
Yeah, I look at Canada as a subsidiary of America.
Well, yeah,
so
okay.
I feel like
so
we're just
you said,
all roped in
I
together.
know. Okay, now slow
one.
down. Now, you said that Trump puts Israel over America. Can you give me an example of President Trump putting Israel over America?
Well, I mean, the over $3 billion worth of tax money that he's sending over there. I mean, he stopped the funding to Ukraine, which, I mean, I would rather him not be sending money to Ukraine. I would rather Canada not be sending money to Ukraine. But the money going to Israel, hold
on a second. Money going to Israel. That's not what I didn't ask you. How much money that the United States has sent to Israel? I asked you to give an example of President Trump putting Israel and their national security and what's best for Israel ahead of that of what's best for the American people in the United States. I didn't ask you for how much money we've given them. I'm asking for an example of putting Israel over the United States, which was what you said he does.
I would say saying that he's for freedom of speech and then blocking freedom of speech for one specific thing only, and that being Israel. So you can't speak on Israel, or you're an anti-Semite.
That's another. I'll talk about that in a moment. So you want to withdraw your statement that he puts Israel ahead of the United States because you haven't been able to give me an example. You keep bringing up other unrelated things. Do you want to withdraw that previous statement that he's America first, not Israel first? Because you don't seem to be able to think of an example of him putting Israel ahead of the United States.
I think that a lot of his focus has been on Israel instead of the problems that are going on here in America.
So you can't think of an example to back up your statement. So he does not
I couldn't give you an example.
Okay, so he is America first, not Israel first, because you can't think of an example. Now, so far as this freedom of speech, you said there's no freedom of speech in the United States to criticize Israel? Really?
No.
So what are you talking about?
He is for freedom of speech until it comes to the criticization of Israel.
Criticization.
As soon as you start to criticize the Israel government, the Israeli government, that's when he starts to put up the blockers, and that's when you start to become anti-Semitic.
Hold on, slow down. Now, I am a strong supporter of Israel, okay? But if I wasn't and I attacked Israel, what would Trump do to me?
He would probably, it depends. I mean, it's breaching on the point. Since you're American citizen, there's a possibility that in the future he might try to.
Oh, there's a possibility?
Somewhere.
Is there an American citizen who President Trump has violated their First Amendment rights on because they've criticized Israel?
Not yet.
Not yet. Well, no, the answer is no. There is not.
The answer is no.
Okay. Okay.
No.
So who? Now there are a couple of people who have been doing some things that are anti-Israel that have been jailed. Who are they, and what are they? Who and what are they?
Well, there was that guy on the campus. Like I said, I'm Canadian. So there's this guy on the
you're
campus.
You're talking about Mahmoud. Yeah, you're talking about a Syrian national. Okay, that guy.
Yeah.
The guy you're talking about. Okay, hold on. The guy you're talking about, Mahmoud, is not an American. He's a Syrian who is in the United States on a visa, and he has been working for the terrorist organization known as Hamas, which is Iran. So he's been working for Iran and Hamas, and he has been organizing hate groups and trying to start a revolution on an American college campus. He does not have. When you're a visitor to our country, you can't go over here and start a revolution and organize a hate group. There are Jewish students at Columbia University who are afraid to go to class because they're being harassed and attacked. So you can't be a visitor from another country, organize a hate group, start harassing American citizens and supporting terrorist organizations, and stay here. That's not a violation of his First Amendment right. See, the First Amendment of the United States Constitution does have limitations. One of the biggest limitations...
The First Amendment of the Constitution is for Americans. It's not for people
the Constitution applies to anyone inside the United States. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen. You can be a tourist, okay? The Constitution applies to everyone inside our borders. However, the First Amendment, you do not have the freedom to incite violence. And what this Mahmoud monster is doing is inciting violence against American Jews, and and he doesn't have a right to do that, especially as a foreign national who's here on a visitor's visa. So he's out. His First Amendment rights have not been violated at all.
Fair enough.
So both of your criticisms of President Trump, they're not real. That's just some left-wing garbage.
It's not a criticism of President Trump because, like I said, I was a huge supporter. From Canada, I was over here rooting for him. The day that he got inaugurated, I was posting on my Instagram. I had both my hands up. I was so excited.
Yeah, but you just don't like Israel. You don't like Israel.
The meetings... I don't like the Israeli government and how I feel
that's
like
Israel.
They're trying to push us into war with Iran.
No, they want to end
a war into the Middle East.
Do you know why?
That affects my country as well.
Why does Israel? Your country's fine. You border us. We'll take care of you. Okay, we're Big Daddy down here.
Of course. That's exactly right.
Why does Israel exist today?
I mean, I couldn't tell you because they had no other place else to go.
Okay,
or because the Bible told them that's where they're supposed to be.
Originally God gave the land of Israel to the Jews, but more recently in 1948, Israel was established because when socialist Adolf Hitler, remember it's National Socialism, right? When the National Socialists were rounding up Jews, no one around the world would take them, including our anti-Semitic, racist president, Franklin Roosevelt, in Canada. People around the world, nations around the world would not take in the Jews who were trying to flee from the Nazi oppression, okay? And they were very open about that. Israel was established so that Jews would have a place of safety if there was ever another attempt to wipe out the gene pool. And what Iran and Hamas are trying to do is complete the Holocaust. They're trying to finish what Hitler started.
I don't necessarily see it that way. I feel like Israel is trying to push this war because they want to get rid of who they see as the enemy. There's lots of evidence to support that. Evidence that I couldn't give to you right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, if anybody would like to go online and just take a
you can't go. Hey, listen, I got to run, but I got to run.
Government.
I got to run for a break. But welcome to the show, and thanks for the call. You contributed a lot. Okay, although you probably feel stupid because you couldn't back up your statements. All right, now if you're on hold, stand by. We're going to take our bottom of the hour break. Okay. And I'll go back to the phones when we get back. And I got a lot to cover. We've only just begun. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. My name is Brian Craig. Our number is toll free, 1-888-465-2631. We'll be right back. Yeah, what's up? Not much. I'm half an hour into the show. Yeah, well, it's 6:30. Coming up on 6:30. Mm-hmm. I'm getting ready to get into the arrest of those judges. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's 6:28. All right, talk to you later. Bye. That was Steve Kane. Oh, man. No, you're all welcome to call in. That's why I give out all the calls are completely unvetted, screenless. When you call in, I just put you on hold. And then when I take you and say, hey, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? That's it. You know, we have someone who can answer the phones and do all that, but we don't do it. I like to take them totally screenless, unvetted, don't know what's coming. And I think that makes the show a lot more exciting. Yeah. We'll be back in just over 1 minute. Mm-hmm. Oh boy. That's a good call, though. I enjoyed the call. Most liberal positions are based on nothing. Yeah, if you're on hold, hang in there. We'll be back in 10 seconds. Oh, no. A minute and 10 seconds. Welcome back, one and all. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. Callers on hold, stand by. You know, that last caller from Canada, you know, that's a textbook example of liberalism. Most liberal ideas are based on nothing. Nothing. As you could tell by that call. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, good morning, Brian. My name is Mark. I'm calling from Davie.
All right.
Hey, I'd like to thank you for coming across really clear because, like, for instance, for example, I was watching the news over the weekend, even Newsmax and Fox News and all that. They're even coming with people like you haven't seen in 20 years, congressmen commenting and making things, bad things out of nothing. Like, why should they arrest them on the street? They could have taken them in the office and just give them a slap on the hand.
Yeah.
And I said, man, I can't watch TV anymore. So
well, you know, I appreciate all your kind words, but what's on your mind today? Oh, sorry, I hit that wrong button there. So what's on your mind today, other than you don't like the TV news?
That's what's on my mind. I have to listen to you for you to put things clear and straight because it's going crazy. It's like, okay, Trump is in power, so what do you want to do? Not let him do his work? It's incredible, and I really thank you. And you started with a great show, and I agree with you 100% with the guy that you talked.
Well, I appreciate that from Davey. Yes, I appreciate that call from Davey. Appreciate the call. Take care, man. Good to hear from you. All right. Okay, so I want to talk about these arrests. So these are just beautiful arrests. There actually were 3 arrests by the feds over the weekend. The 2 judges, the one out west and in New Mexico, that's a whole weirdo freak show thing, which we don't have all the details of. The lunatic lady judge in Wisconsin, and then a state worker who works for Katie Hobbs in Arizona also got arrested for smuggling illegals. So these are the first government arrest by Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino. And I'm going to break down in a little bit what that's all about. Why do you think these are their first arrest? I want to tell you why. And when I tell you, you're going to say, wow, President Trump hires the best. These are brilliant people. But let's take some calls first. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Once, twice. All right. You missed your chance. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yeah, hold on 1 second here. The phones are ringing off the hook. All right, go ahead. What's on your mind?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, great. I'm from California, but I'm currently in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to touch on our American dollar on the gold standard. When Richard Nixon was president, he took our money off the gold standard, and if you look it up, when he addresses the American people, he said it was temporary.
All right, well, then, listen, it's not open phones today, but you call on Friday's open phones. But right now, you got to, I got a bunch of things I brought up, so we're going to kind of talk about what I brought up today. But every Friday is open phones. You can call in about any and everything on your mind on Friday's show. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Jim Cagney. How you doing? It's been a while, hasn't it? So, that Pam Bondi memo sure is crazy, isn't it?
What Pam Bondi memo? What did she say that's crazy?
Oh, yeah, you remember back in March she put out that memo, although it just got leaked recently, so we're just hearing about it.
Well, what did she say? What did she say that's crazy?
Oh, well, basically she said Fourth Amendment's out the window. Didn't you hear?
Oh, the Attorney General of the United States said the Fourth Amendment is out the window. I missed that.
Oh, yeah, not so many words. Yeah.
Oh, well, then what words did she actually, what words did she actually use?
Oh, yeah, well, she says that ICE can write their own warrants, so basically they can search anywhere they want. They don't really need the approval of a judge.
All right, listen, I'm gonna move on. I've got some important things to talk about, and you're not very important today. Yeah. All right, now I want to get to the judges, okay, and then we'll go back to the phone. So if you're on hold, hang in there. And I'll just tell you guys that are new to the program. Fridays is open phones. We call it Open MAGA Mike Friday, and on Friday's show, you can call in about any and everything you want. Monday through Thursday, Steve and I have what we think is the important stories of the day to lead with, and you got to call in about those, okay? I mean, if I just did that, if we had open phones every day, what am I here for? What am I, just an answering service? Call in and get garbage off your chest? No, that's that's not how it works. So what we brought up today is, which I'm going to do every hour, is I broke down that fake news poll from ABC that says that Trump has the lowest approval rating in the first 100 days in 80 years. That's total BS. I'm going to go through that once an hour. We talked about Israel, and now I'm talking about the judges. Okay, so those are the things you got to call in about. You can only call in, and as the show goes on, more news stories will come up. On Friday's show, you can call in about any and everything on your mind. But Monday through Thursday, you got to call in about the things we bring up. Okay. Otherwise, I would just be like answering phones. Line 1, okay, you got that off your chest. Okay, let's go. Line 6, okay, you got that. Okay, that's not a show. That's not hosting a program. That's just not how it works. Okay, so let me get to the judges. So we've got 2 corrupt judges. This one in New Mexico is just a freak show. We're going to find out all kinds of weirdness about that situation. But this lady judge that they arrested in her robe in Wisconsin, this is, what this arrest was beautiful, okay? This arrest was beautiful. she defied federal agents. She obstructed federal agents from arresting a federal fugitive from justice. It was a very violent, illegal. And she took him into her chambers with his lawyer and gave him an escape route. You know, judges have private entrances in and out of their chambers for safety reasons. So she took him and his lawyer into the chambers and showed him an escape route and helped him flee from federal agents. That's a hardcore federal crime. That's aiding and abetting a federal fugitive from justice. And that Wisconsin judge, she is going to prison. Now, when she did this, she didn't think anything was going to happen to her. She thought she was saving Anne Frank, okay, from the Nazis. Now, this judge in New Mexico is different because for all we know, he's working for the cartels. He's working for Trinidad de Aquavina or MS-13, or he's just a freak, him and his wife. They got all kinds of weirdness going on. This judge in Wisconsin, which she is not a judge. And, you know, about 15 years ago or so, George Soros started backing in elections judges, prosecutors, public defenders, and people like this, county sheriffs and such. And the American local legal system has, in many ways, been taken over by not liberals, radical revolutionaries whose sole goal in life is to bring down and destroy the United States of America, to cause anarchy, to bring about the downfall of the United States. And this attitude that's been going on in this country, that a judge in their courtroom has, it's like their own country. They're like a city-state, and they can do whatever they want. They can obey the laws of the United States or not. They can make up their own laws. In their courtroom, they have complete authority. That's not true, okay? It doesn't work that way. If that were true, could you imagine the kind of crimes they could commit? Okay? It's not the purge in their courtrooms where they could do whatever they want. If you are a judge, you still have to obey the laws, even if you're in your courtroom. You can't disobey the laws, obstruct justice, help people escape from federal agents. You can't do all that. It's just not legal. And she is going to go to prison. And Pam Bondi, they're not going to be making any plea bargains. She is going to go to prison, all right? And she should. So why did they go after these judges that we never heard of before? Local judges. When we have this Boasberg and all these other federal judges. Well, let me play a couple clips for you. This is McCabe on CNN over the weekend. Now, McCabe, if you remember, was fired by President Trump in his first term right before he got his pension, right? Remember, a couple days before he could get his full pension, President Trump fired him. So Andy McCabe hates President Trump like the plague. He hates President Trump. He's one of the biggest Trump haters out there because he didn't get his full pension because of the president. So here's McCabe on CNN talking about the arrest of this Wisconsin judge over the weekend.
But it's also not it's not an unreasonable complaint. There's plenty of evidence in the complaint to get you beyond the probable cause phase.
Okay, did you hear this? One of the biggest Trump haters in America said that that the charges are fine. Isn't that something? That's how solid this case is.
But it's also not it's not an unreasonable complaint. There's plenty of evidence in the complaint to get you beyond the probable cause phase, which is where we are right now. And I think when you start looking at how the judge was treated after the events that led to the charge, so where and when and how she was arrested, and the fact that she was arrested at the courthouse rather than her own residence, the fact that she was placed in a jail cell for hours before her arraignment was called in the court later in the afternoon. These things are unprecedented.
Yeah, they are unprecedented. Okay, so the biggest Trump hater, and one of them, he's got to be in the top 10 because of what, Trump fired him right before the pension. He says the charges are cool. The only thing he takes issue with is where they arrested her, What does that tell you? Now, this is Bill Barr, Trump's second attorney general, who's also a never-Trumper. He's a Bush Republican.
I doubt it'll get to the Supreme Court because I think the law is so clear. The states argue, the sanctuary states argue, they don't have to affirmatively assist us, the feds, in getting hold of these illegal aliens. But this isn't a question of assisting. This is actually interfering with, of harboring, of getting in the way. And so I don't think there's any question about this, and I think it's time for zero tolerance and getting back to basics, which are that judges and state officials are still citizens, they're subject to the federal law, and they cannot interfere in or impede the federal function. So I'm 100% in agreement with what's done.
Well, okay, so we have two Trump haters, a Bush Republican, Barr, McCabe, a Democrat Comey lover who hates Trump like the plague, and they both say the charges are good, legit, and solid. So what does that tell you? Well, I'm going to explain it to you after the break. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back. Oh, this is awesome. It does not get better than this. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Oh, yeah. Now, let me see, there's some clips I want to pull up that I haven't gotten to. Not sure I'm going to have time to play all these or find them.
Member of the Wisconsin State Assembly. I'm just queuing some audio for the next couple of segments here. I'm running out of time. Okay. If you're on hold, hang in there. Oh, this is great stuff. This is great stuff. All right, stand by. We'll be back in 20 seconds. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show, on the radio since 1977. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there.
So these judges we never heard of, the New Mexico judge and this Wisconsin judge. Now, but right before the break, I had two big Trump haters. Barr, Trump's second attorney general, saying the charges are solid. Andrew McCabe, who Trump fired a couple days before he got his pension from the federal government. He hates Trump. He says the charges are solid. So what are they doing here? You know, President Trump, not only with this incredible cabinet that he put together and the people that work under them at senior levels like Kash Patel and Bongino, Trump not only hired the best people and most competent people in these positions, he hired people that understand media. That's why there's so many people there from Fox News. That's why Pam Bondi's on Fox all the time and stuff. They know how to handle media. Trump knows how to handle media, so that's important to him. So what have they done here? They arrested two judges, local judges, New Mexico, Wisconsin, on very solid charges, and now even some of the biggest Trump haters a couple days later are saying these are solid arrests. What this is foreshadowing, they're preparing people for the arrest of the household name people, Fannie, Letitia, and others, okay? The lawfare crowd. And that when people see these arrests and see how solid they are, when they go after, this gives credibility to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and the entire Justice Department, these solid arrests, when you even have Andy McCabe and Bill Barr defending these arrests, saying they're solid. So when they go after the lawfare people that are household names, or the mortgage fraudster Letitia James, okay, it'll give them more credibility with the American people as to the credibility of charges they bring against people. It's awesome. Now, I suspected they'd go after low-hanging fruit like Fannie or something. This is even better. It is beautiful. Now, there may be other lower-level sanctuary city arrests. You know, this Mayor Wu in Boston, okay, what she's suggesting be done is criminal. People like her could find themselves arrested too. But this is one of the most brilliant Justice Department, maybe the most brilliant Justice Department strategy for bringing criminals to justice that we have ever seen. This is so perfect and so beautiful. All right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, good morning, Brian. Chris from Pompano Beach.
Hey, Chris.
Oh, great show, man. Wow. And so early on. You know, it's amazing the desperate lengths that they'll go to try and paint any kind of a negative picture on President Trump's administration.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad you walked the Canadian guy down the plank because, I mean, he had no example as usual. And even the other gentleman calling in about Israel, I mean, come on, really?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the other guy that called, I guess, regarding, I mean, it was the same Canadian guy, I guess, saying President Trump was friendlier to Israel than the United States.
He said he puts Israel's needs ahead of that of America. Yeah.
You know, the whole, that was it, putting words, not words exactly. Well, what do you shift, talking about parodies to create a delusion?
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They're unhinged.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, are they even listening to
themselves? And most of what they think is based on these empty talking points that they have no follow-up to. It's amazing. And I'm sure it's frustrating when you ask them a question like that, like I was doing with that guy. And he sits around with his liberal friends up in the Great White North and say all these terrible things about Trump. And that was the first time he was confronted with, well, give an example of that to back up your charge. And he can't do it. I could hear the frustration in his voice.
President's job that he's doing is undeniable. These first 100 days are historic. There's no denying. So what are you going to come up with? These polls, of course, which they always steer. You know what I say about polls? When someone brings it up, I say, you know what? It's false. How do you know? Because they didn't ask me. They didn't poll me.
Yeah.
And then I'll ask them, you know, how they feel. Come on. All this just to say that you don't like someone. Okay, so you don't like him. But how about the job he's doing? Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that was good. Okay, then.
Yeah.
You know, come on.
Yeah. All right, Chris, good to hear from you. I appreciate
that. And,
yeah.
No, great job. I'm so glad. Yeah, you're the best at what you do, man. I hope you continue to reach people as far as Canada and everywhere else.
No, that's awesome. I know we're not just national, we're international.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, take care, man. Appreciate the call. All right, so now back to the judges. If you're on hold, hang in there, and if you'd like to call, please do. Our number, 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call, no matter where you are listening. So let me play a couple clips here. This is CNN talking about the Wisconsin judge arrest.
Level judge in Wisconsin. The FBI just arrested a Wisconsin judge, accusing her of shielding an immigrant from federal officials. When you're doing stuff like that, it makes people say, not enough people, mind you, but more people all the time say, that's not what I had in mind when Trump was talking about immigration. And
Really? What MAGA person thinks? This is exactly what those of us that are MAGA, this is exactly what we had in mind when Trump was talking about enforcing the immigration laws.
By the way, are the same people who, when they talk about tariffs, are saying, I voted for Trump because he said he was going to lower prices.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so that's the first one. They're outraged at the arrest. This is also CNN. This is on the arrest of the criminal judge in Wisconsin.
This is her courtroom, Boris, and she's in control of her courtroom. We've never had a case like this. The only one that resembles it is one in which the judge took actual steps to deceive and prevent ICE from coming in. She handled it and said, look, if you want to make an arrest, don't do it in my courtroom. Don't exploit it. You can do it on the street. There's no principle that says she has to somehow aid them in their facilitation of the arrest of this man.
Yeah, you can't lie to federal agents. That's a federal crime. She lied to federal agents. Okay, go to prison for that alone.
I think I agree. It's a real escalation, but I think it's hyperbolic at best to say she was harboring a fugitive.
She helped him escape through the exit in her chambers.
Saying, not in my courtroom. And I think this is not just an aggressive, but probably an over-aggressive move by the Bureau. My best guess is that this case is going to collapse because you need to have corrupt intent.
Oh, she had corrupt intent. So this is what blows my mind. The immediate reactions from the liberals after the arrest of this corrupt judge was that this is unprecedented. You can't do. Why is it wrong to arrest a corrupt local judge that helped a federal fugitive escape, who, by the way, was a violent fugitive, but it's okay to arrest a president of the United States and a presidential candidate? When President Trump was arrested more than once, and he never should have been, oh, no one's above the law. No one's above the law. But now they're telling us judges are above the law. You can't have it both ways. Now, here it is, Monday morning. Oh, man. Were you a little more active over the weekend than you are during the week? Yeah. Did you clean out the garage? You go swimming, do some work around the house? Are you paying for it this morning? Did you wake up in pain? Aches and pains. Oh, man. Well, no problem. Go see Dr. Philip Appleton today. Take advantage of his laser away pain treatment. You know, with Dr. Appleton, appointments are not necessary and walk-ins are welcome, even on Mondays. And if you woke up today with aches and pains, go see him. You know, his laser away pain treatment works. There's no drugs, no shots, no injections, no surgery, no downtime. Works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. Acute pain, chronic pain, herniated disc, rotary tears, plantar fasciitis, fibromyalgia, spinal stenosis, sciatica, tinnitus, knee conditions, neck pain, back injuries, post-surgical swelling, arthritis, bursitis, the list goes on. Strains and sprains. And of course, Dr. Appleton has rid me of pain 7 times. It's amazing. Arthritis pain, injuries, years of suffering, knee pain. His laser treatment works, guys. Oh, and Dr. Appleton performs all the laser treatments himself. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain. But first, my throat's dry. I got to take a drink of this coffee. Hold on. All right, 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air once, twice. All right, you missed your chance. All right, let's go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jeff from Maine.
Hey, Jeff, what's up?
Hey, who would have ever thought that the Democrat Party was going to destroy themselves for taking illegal aliens' rights over U.S. citizens'
That's right.
rights. This is actually what's happening. We are going to watch them destroy themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I want to know, Brian, this is a serious question. Where are the moderate Democrats standing up for the American citizens and speaking out against the illegal aliens and these government officials vowing to go down into another country and try to release an illegal alien, a criminal illegal alien?
Yeah. Well, I don't think there are any moderate Democrats anymore.
There aren't any.
Mm-mm.
That's exactly right, Brian. There's no, and these judges are hanging themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Every
you
one
can't
of them
you can't go around and say, okay, this is a sanctuary for federal fugitives, whether you're a bank robber, a kidnapper, or an illegal alien. You can't say that you can be here and not worry about the feds. You don't have that right.
No, they don't. And they just they're digging a hole, and I hope they dig it all the way to you-know-where, because
China.
We need to have the Supreme Court step up and say these district judges have no business stopping the president of the United States.
Well, I got to tell you,
enforcing federal law.
This Wisconsin judge, it has got to scare these sanctuary judges and police chiefs and sheriffs and mayors like Wu in Boston. You cannot offer sanctuary to federal fugitives from justice. It's illegal. Jeff, I got to run for the top of the hour. Thanks for the call. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, our number's toll free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are listening. My name is Brian Craig. You are listening to the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest running radio show, on the radio since 1977. We'll be back right after this.
In Milwaukee, an illegal alien from Mexico is in court, being prosecuted.
Okay, got a couple of the sound bites queued up that I want to play. Oh, those of you that are new, that are watching with the green screen, vertical live stream, if you go to my other stream on the channel, you get the background that I have up, not the green screen, and you get to see and hear the videos, okay, and the clips that I play, and the articles that I'm sharing are on the screen. If you're watching on the green screen live stream, you can hear me, you can hear the callers, but the audio sound bites, the articles, the video, you can't see that here. But you can see it on my other stream if you hop over there. welcome. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe. 2 streams. We'll be back in about a minute. If you're on hold, hang in there. Okay.
And to set the
40 seconds. Callers on hold, hang in there. We'll go back to the phones shortly. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show on this beautiful Monday morning. Welcome, everyone. And covered a lot in the first hour. I'm in the middle of talking about the great arrest of these judges, in particular the one in Wisconsin, this sanctuary judge that lied to federal agents, obstructed federal agents who were, tracking down a federal fugitive from justice. She not only helped him escape, she crafted an entire escape on her own. She distracted the federal agents that she lied to, which is a crime in itself you can go to prison for, took the illegal into her chambers with his lawyer, and led them out through an escape route. Now, luckily, they got him, but she helped a federal fugitive escape from federal agents that she lied. I mean, she's going to prison. So this is Florida's own Pam Bondi, the great Attorney General of the United States of America. And this is from Friday. She went on Fox and was talking about this illegal that this judge helped escape.
And to set the stage for you and Sandra, this was truly horrific. This guy was in court being prosecuted by a state prosecutor for domestic violence battery.
Oh, my goodness. So just like the fake Maryland man, right, in El Salvador, they're defending another man who beats women. What is it with the liberals that they're defending illegals that beat up women all the time? This is the second one.
And to set the stage for you and Sandra, this was truly horrific. This guy was in court being prosecuted by a state prosecutor for domestic violence battery.
Wow.
He had beat up 2 people, a guy and a girl, hit the guy 30 times, knocked him to the ground, choked him, beat up a woman so badly they both had to go to the hospital. And John, you know, it's so rare for victims to want to cooperate. They wanted to cooperate. They were sitting in the courtroom with the state prosecutor. The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes, victims in court. Judge finds out. She goes out in the hallway, screams at the immigration officers. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to talk to the chief judge. She comes back in the courtroom. You're not going to believe this. Takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out a private exit and tells them to leave. While a state prosecutor and victims of domestic violence are sitting in the courtroom.
Wow. I mean, this judge, what a lowlife. I mean, that's another man who he chokes people, which he's trying to kill them. He beats women. And we got 2 men who beat women that the Democrats are now advocates for. The fake Maryland man in El Salvador, and now this guy. So let me play this. This is Pam Bondi's press conference about the arrest.
No one is above the law. In
That's
Milwaukee,
right.
an illegal alien from Mexico was in court being prosecuted for domestic violence. He was charged with violently attacking a man, punching him in the face 30 times, strangling him, and then attacking a woman by punching her in the face with his closed fist.
Oh, my goodness. This is who this judge was protecting and helped escape? This is who the Democrats are supporting?
Both victims were brave enough to be in court. The judge, Hannah Dugan, learned that ICE was outside to arrest him after court. She is now charged with obstruction of justice for sneaking this criminal defendant, an illegal alien, out a back exit through her chambers to avoid his arrest, leaving the victims and prosecutors sitting in court all morning waiting on justice. In New Mexico, law enforcement was tipped off that Judge Joel Cano had a TDA member living in his home.
Now, this is this weirdo that got arrested with his wife. This New Mexico judge is going to turn out to be a lot different than the Wisconsin judge. This guy's got some freaky stuff going on out there in that house, and he obviously, could very well be on the take with these guys.
The judge and his wife allegedly gave him access to assault rifles, one with a suppressor, to go to a shooting range to perfect his skills.
Oh, my.
Law enforcement found pictures on his cell phones and social media showing multiple tattoos and gang insignia. They also found a picture of him with the judge. He had mocked a $5,000 reward to catch TDA members. They also had pictures of 2 victims who had been decapitated. Their hands were cut off, and their bodies had also been mutilated.
Wow, these are your dreamers, Democrats, right? These are the Obama, Biden, Kamala Harris dreamers. They have a dream. They dream of coming to America and beating women and cutting people's hands and heads off.
The judge, now charged with obstruction. Post Miranda, he admitted he destroyed one of the cell phones with a hammer and then took
just like Hillary Clinton did.
it to a city dumpster down the street to dispose of the evidence. The Trump administration will fight for victims. The rule of law is very simple. It doesn't matter what line of work you're in. If you break the law, we will follow the facts and we will prosecute you.
Yes, whether you're a judge or not. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, all right. You missed your chance. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on.
Good morning, Brian.
Yeah.
It's Lenny from Coconut Creek.
All right, Lenny, speak up.
I just want to say that, it's absolutely phenomenal as to what, this current administration is doing, the transparency of action, people, the patience level has been, to the point where, everybody thought, well, all that was being said, nothing was being done. And now, between Bondi, Patel, Bongino, of course they got to make sure that every T is crossed, every I is dotted.
These are the perfect first. What I was talking about in the first hour. Okay, and this is important. The reason these are the first arrests, these are bad judges. If they started by arresting people whose names are household names, like Fannie Willis, as an example, okay, the lawfare people, and people would be freaking out. Yeah, or Letitia James, the mortgage fraudster and lawfare expert against Trump. But they arrest these 2 judges who are as dirty gets. Even Democrats are saying these are criminals and the charges are solid. So when they go after Fannie Willis or Letitia or some of the other lawfare people or Comey, Pam Bondi and Cash Patel and Bongino, they're going to have a lot more credibility with the American people and the public in general than they had before this. This was the perfect way to start their arrest of these criminal public officials.
Absolutely. And when you opened up as far as the poll, what Trump has done and it's how absurd that the far left liberals, they especially with this rally that's coming up, they just want to put it out there that
oh yeah, they're trying to I'm going to get to the poll in a little bit again, but they're trying to say that Trump's not popular. Trump is more popular than he's ever been. Hey, listen, Lenny, I got to run because we're coming up on a break, but thanks for the call. If you're on hold, stand by. I want to talk about Coastal Weight Loss Secret, and really I'm becoming a billboard poster, a walking billboard for Coastal Weight Loss Secret. I've lost over 35 pounds eating foods I would normally eat, zero exercise, and I'm not taking Ozempic or any other prescription medications. Coastal Weight Loss Secret works, and today, those of you that watch me on YouTube, oh my goodness, I am wearing, it's a Trump t-shirt, but I'm wearing a t-shirt, and I tucked my t-shirt in, which I don't normally do, and I did today, just by accident. I put the t-shirt on, put my pants on, it was tucked, I was like, oh, and I saw it, like, oh my goodness, I can't believe how thin I'm looking here. And I have my belt on that I've added holes to, and my belt is going a quarter of the way around my waist again. I need to put another hole in it, and it will go beyond that because the belt's not tight enough right now. And if you've seen me in the past few weeks, couple of months since I started with Coastal Weight Loss Secret, you will see that the pounds have just melted away. And I'm not hungry. And not only have I lost all the weight, I've lost it from places that I wanted to lose it. My stomach, my belly is gone. I thought that, I'm over 50, I'm 54 years old. Okay, you got the little belly. That's just what it is. I didn't think that would go away for the rest of my life. It is gone. I even have definition in my body now. I have the body that I had when I was 20, 21 years old now. I lost the weight in my belly, in my waist, in my face, in my neck, all the places I thought it was impossible to lose weight. It is amazing. I'm going to give you the number to Coastal Weight Loss Secret. When you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel, all right? It works. Whether you want to lose 20 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, 150 pounds, or even more, give them a call. Here's the number, 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. That's 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightlosssecret.com. Call us on hold, stand by. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be right back. If you're on hold, hang in there. We'll be back in just a few seconds. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, all right? This is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. It's the Steve Kane Show. Call us on hold. Hang in there. We've covered a lot in the last 1 hour and 18 minutes. Our number 1-888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, it's Renee from Harlem.
Hey, Renee.
Yeah, you know, you guys are you're up to your old tricks. Now, there's some things that I really wanted to mention. Thanks to your policies, China is now going to be using their LNGs to Canada instead of the United States.
What's an LNG?
Liquefied natural gas.
Oh, okay.
Read a book.
Okay. So what?
You're not very smart.
So what?
Which means that the United States just shot themselves in the foot.
So this is interesting. So this is okay. Couple things about that. First of all, we have more natural gas under the soil of the United States of America than any other nation on earth, including China. If Canada wants to betray the United States by doing business like that with our enemy, let them do it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
We betrayed Canada because of your racist. There's another thing. Rules for radicals was for radicals, not rules for racists. It doesn't apply.
Okay, whatever that means. Whatever that means.
With a white person, that does not make that black person a racist. It just means they're conscious. Which I know woke means a bad thing to you people. You don't like that word.
No, I don't mind it,
like
but you know, woke is, you know, misused.
Yeah, it means you're conscious. You don't want people to be conscious.
It means what's happened to the Democrat Party. And you're not self-aware enough.
You're going to tell me what happened to the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Like you have
the Democrat Party has been taken over by radical revolutionaries like this Wisconsin judge that Kash Patel arrested. It's been taken over by racists like you and communists like AOC.
You see, when a black person disagrees with a racist, that black person becomes a racist to you people.
No, my daughter disagrees.
Yeah.
My daughter disagrees with me all the time. And there's no race involved. She's black, I'm white. Hey, Renee, take care. Have a good day. All right, appreciate the call. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Conservative Doug.
Oh, hey, Doug.
You know, man, this shocking poll is certainly shocking. You said it was ABC. I'm surprised that they're not embarrassed and ashamed of what they've done. You know, President Trump, the country voted for President Trump to basically to close the border. I heard that in 24th March, there was over 100,000 people captured and released. This March, 20, and they were only medical. So the border is basically closed. Prices are coming down.
Yeah.
You know, so these people are sick. They have nothing better to do, I guess, than try to come up with something. But I think this rally is going to be spectacular, and everybody is, I think, on board and gaining. I told you, even some liberals are saying, well, yeah, the things he's doing is good, but this or that. They always have something to say, but it's going our way, man. These people got to stop the nonsense.
Yeah, it's called winning. It's called winning. Hey, appreciate the call, Doug. Take care. Now, those of you on hold, hang in there. Once an hour today, I'm going to go through this fake news poll from ABC and the Washington Post. I don't follow polls, but this poll has hijacked the news cycle. You know, Trump's having this great Michigan rally celebrating his first 100 days. So they're putting out fake news to try to act like people have turned against him. And I hate to do this once an hour, but I think I'm the only one that's going to break it down. What I've done is I've gotten the poll itself, the raw poll, and I have the methodology on who they polled and how they did their polling, which I'll share with you in a minute. Now, this poll's everywhere. Here's Mediaite's headline. Shock poll, Trump's approval rating plummets to the lowest in 80 years. for a president at the 100-day mark. Now, I know that's nonsense, but I went and got the actual poll, went through it, and on page 7 of the poll, you get the methodology, how they polled and who they polled. And I'm going to go through that right now. And by the way, this is on my X, Brian Craig Show on X. You can go there and read the poll yourself. Now, I'm not going to go through the breakdown of the poll. I'm just going to go through the methodology of the poll, okay? Now, first off, this is not Trump's first 100 days. It's his second 100 days, since this is his second and non-consecutive term. But if you go to the raw poll itself, which I pulled up, on page 7, they give you the methodology. And it says, methodology. Listen to this. And I'll explain to you how this poll is just total 100% fake news. This ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll, now ABC hates Trump, Washington Post is deep state, they hate Trump and all Republicans, was conducted online. Okay, now the first question is, how do you conduct a scientific political poll online? There's no way to do it. Was conducted online via the probability-based Ipsos Knowledge Panel from April 18th to the 22nd in English and Spanish. This is a poll about the sitting president of the United States of America. Why are they polling people in Spanish? Makes no sense. Among a random sampling of 2,464 adults, partisan divisions are 30-30-29, 30% Dem, 30% Republican, and 30% Independents. Okay, now the first thing is they did a sampling in English and Spanish, can you imagine, online of 2,464 adults. That is the least scientific of all polling samples. The most scientific are likely voters, then they do registered voters, okay? Then they do Americans, and then they do adults. Adults is the most liberal-leaning, least scientific. But they did 30% Democrat, 30% Republican, and 29% Independents. Most every independent that I ever talked to is a line Democrat. So, so they polled 59% Trump haters against 30% Republican. What kind of poll is that? And a lot of them were done in Spanish. This is a fake poll. It is a push poll that was designed to have a result that they could try to spoil this 100-day celebration at the rally in Michigan with. It is complete lies. Now, you can go to my X, Brian Craig Show on X, pull up the methodology of the poll, and show me where I'm wrong, but I don't expect to get that call because I am spot on and right on. I know a lot about polling. All right, let's go back to our phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, yeah, I can barely hear you. I'm going to go ahead and ask my questions, and you respond to them, and I'll catch you off the air.
No, we don't. No, that's not how we operate. You ask me a question, we'll have a discussion.
Operate how you ever operate.
Okay, ask me. Pick your best question.
I can hear that.
Pick your best question.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Have you heard anything in the wind about the investigations on the Soros Mafia?
No.
Because Nixon wanted to do that, and then he got in trouble.
Where's the part that's relevant, has something to do with what I've been talking about this morning?
I'm just throwing it out there.
Do you have a question that has anything to do with anything I brought up in the last 90 minutes?
No.
Okay. Well, then call in on Friday when it's open phones.
Okay.
All right? I mean, come on. Friday's show is open phones. We call it Open MAGA Mike Friday. Today's Monday. On Friday, you can call in about any and everything on your mind. It's completely open phones. Monday through Thursday, Steve and we spend a lot of time doing show prep and reading the news and following the news. You got to call in about the things we're talking about. And we've covered a lot in the last 90 minutes. I mean, we probably covered a dozen topics. You got to call in about one of those. We just don't. Okay, you're on the air. What do you want? Yeah, let me get my 4 questions out, and then and then I will say goodbye. That's not a show, okay? All right, listen, we're going to take our break. If you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, please do. 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are listening. Call us on hold, stand by. We'll be back right after our bottom of the hour break. I mean, do you guys understand that? No, it's just that, you know, if you're hosting a show, you've got to have, you know, to be a professional show, you got to, you know, we give you one day when you can call in about any and everything on your mind, no matter how stupid it is, and that's Friday. I'm just not some call screener calling in, okay, you got that off your chest, okay, next call. All right, get it off your chest, next call. That's not a show. That's chaos. And I'm sure you guys understand that. Anyone who doesn't is just a troll. No, I think, you know, the calls are totally screenless and unvetted and everything else. I think we give a lot. Nobody else does that. We'll be back in just over a minute. Just over 30 seconds, we'll be back. Welcome. If you're new, Kevin just subscribed. Welcome, Kevin. Welcome back, one and all. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest running radio show. All right, we've covered a lot, and I've got a lot more to cover. We've only just begun, people. Our number 1-888-465-2631. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning, Brian. This is Richie.
Hey, Richie.
I bring up Israel since you had it on earlier.
Okay.
And with the explosion, port, and everything.
Yeah, Richie, you're cutting out.
I'm not one of these guys that think that we should negotiate with people that have killed Americans, terrorized the whole Middle East, and have been a suicide cult. that think that death is more important than life. As far as I'm concerned, I think this negotiation.
All right, Richie, you've got a bad. Your cell connection's terrible. I can only hear like every second or third word, so you can try back another time. Okay, now there was a big fake news story that came out. This one was just total. As soon as I saw the story, not only did I know it was fake news, but I knew what the real story was. There was a fake news story that started over the weekend that Christy Nome deported a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old child. Oh, boy. And I knew exactly what happened because President Trump told us this all would be coming, long ago. But Kristen Welker on Meet the Press, okay, who's so embedded in the Democrat Party, for her to consider herself to be a journalist is twisted. She had on Florida's own Marco Rubio, the incredible Secretary of State of the United States, and she brought up this lying fake news story that we deported a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old child, and Marco Rubio hit it out of the park. If you're on hold, hang in there. Let me share this. This was beautiful.
Our audience, 3 U.S. citizen children have been deported with their mothers. Now, this is according to the Washington Post.
The Washington Post. The same people that have the poll that Trump's got the lowest approval ratings in 80 years, right?
Our audience, 3 U.S. citizen children have been deported with their mothers. Now, this is according to the Washington Post. The family's lawyer says one of them is a 4-year-old with stage 4 cancer, deported without medication or ability to contact doctors. The family's lawyers are also saying their clients were denied communication with family and legal representatives before being deported. And it's raising concerns about the issue of due process, that it's being violated. So let me ask you, is everyone on U.S. soil, citizens and non-citizens, entitled to due process?
Okay. This woman, I don't expect, some of these lower level people that have vacuous talking points, but she's supposed to be at the top of the pyramid of fake news media. And she just gave Marco Rubio a great thing just to hit a home run with. She's got nothing but liberal nonsense. That Trump deported a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 7-year-old. They're U.S. citizens, and one of them has cancer. Oh, yeah. And they were deported without their cancer meds. Oh, my goodness. Well, let's listen to Marco Rubio and his answer.
Yes, of course. But let me tell you, it looks in immigration standing, the laws are very specific. If you're in this country unlawfully, you have no right to be here and you must be removed. That's what the law says. Somehow over the last 20 years, we've completely lost this notion that somehow or completely adopted this idea that, yes, we have immigration laws, but once you come into our country illegally, it triggers all kinds of rights that can keep you here indefinitely. That's why we were being flooded at the border. And we've ended that, and that's why you see a historically low number of people not just trying to cross our border, trying to cross the border into Panama, all the way down in the Darien Gap. I mean, it's been a huge help for those countries as well. On the headline, that's a misleading headline. Okay, 3 U.S. citizens, ages 4, 7, and 2, were not deported. Their mothers, who are legally in this country, were deported. The children went with their mothers. If those children are U.S. citizens, they can come back into the United States if there's their father or someone here who wants to assume them. But ultimately, who was deported was their mothers who were here illegally. The children just went with their mothers. But it wasn't like, you guys make it sound like ICE agents kicked down the door and grabbed the 2-year-old and threw him on an airplane. That's misleading. Yeah. That's just not true.
Just to be clear, because I do want to get to the overhaul at the State Department, is it the U.S. policy to deport children, even U.S. citizens, with their families? And
she didn't even hear what Marco Rubio said. She's right back to the next talking point. She didn't even hear that she got her clock cleaned.
U.S. policy to deport children, even U.S. citizens, with their families. And I hear what you're saying, without due process. Just to be very clear there.
Well, No. Again, if someone's in this country unlawfully, illegally, that person gets deported. If that person is with a 2-year-old child or has a 2-year-old child and says, I want to take my child with me, well, then you have 2 choices. You can say, yes, of course you can take your child, whether they're a citizen or not, because it's your child. Or you can say, yes, you can go, but your child must stay behind. And then your headlines would read, U.S. holding hostage 2-year-old, 4-year-old, 7-year-old while mother deported. So the parents make that choice. I imagine those 3 U.S. citizen children have fathers here in the United States. Yeah. They can stay with their father. That's up to their family to decide where the children go. Children go with their parents. Parents decide where their children go. Right. The U.S. deported their mothers who were illegally in America.
Oh, my goodness. Kristen Welker humiliated on her own program by the great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Earl from Stewart.
All right, Earl, speak up.
Well, just a quick question about your advertisement.
No, we don't talk about sponsors. We don't talk about sponsors.
All right, but no, zero
exercise. No, we don't talk. Yeah, zero exercise, but you can't call in and attack our sponsors. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, good morning. Can you
All
hear
right,
me
now we can hear you, Richie. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I just got back from Publix, so I was in my car. Here's the deal, Brian. I've watched what's going on. This guy, the first caller you had was from Canada. We don't understand with Israel that they're trying to bring Americans into a war. I look at it totally differently, and I guess I'm a little hawkish here. I don't know why, and I'm going to say this because you're going to say, well, you got to trust President Trump. I don't know why he's fooling around here. We have a regime that's lied to this government. They've actually killed Marines in Syria years ago. They were behind all of that. They've been behind all the terrorism in the Middle East for all these years, and they've lied to us about their ideas about nuclear. They want for their own energy.
Are you talking about Iran?
They blew up.
We're not talking about Iran, Richie. We're not talking about Iran today. There was a comment about there was a comment briefly about Israel. A guy called in from Canada, and he asked me, why does Trump put Israel's needs above that of America? And we went back and forth, and he felt stupid after the end of the call. We weren't talking about Iran or bombing Iran or anything.
All right, forgive me. You don't believe in that, though. You don't believe in bombing Iran.
Believe in it? I mean, I don't even know what that means. I was like, do I believe in Santa Claus? I mean, if they do it, they do it.
No,
do I support it? If President
Trump,
listen, I've told you this, and now we're talking about what we're not talking about. I have been hearing for the last 15 years that Iran is 2 months away, 1 week away, 6 weeks away from a nuclear weapon. Okay, and I don't know how much of that's true or not. I don't know if I even believe that anymore. If President Trump has all the information. And he put pressure on Israel not to bomb them. But we're not talking about Iran. I brought up a lot of things, Richie, and we're not going to switch off to open phones is on Friday. Now I know a lot of people will say, well, why don't you do open phones every day? Because there's a lot of important stories that I've covered today that are in the news every day, and that's just how we run the show. I'm sorry to tell you guys that we got to have some rules and some structure. Now, I know Richie's not a liberal. I know a lot of leftists out there. They don't want to, they're not into structure and rules. But I'm just not into talking about bombing Iran. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But I do want to get back to this exchange on Meet the Press with Marco Rubio. I mean, Marco Rubio, he is really just so great. And, there's a good chance he'll be our nominee, not J.D. Vance in 2028. That's possible. Why do you think he left the lifetime job he had to be the Secretary of State? He could have been senator for the rest of his life from Florida. He's very good and he's very popular. I know he was in the first campaign in 2015, but he's grown up a lot and he is amazing. In fact, he also said, let me see if I have this clip. I'm not sure if I have this clip together. Is this the clip? I'll have to find it. But let me see, is this it? No. I've got a clip of Marco Rubio. Let me see here. Yeah, this is it. Let me see if I can I might have to pull this up during the break. Hold on, guys, because I don't think I've got it quite ready. No, I'll have to pull this up during the break. But Marco Rubio was talking also to her about U.S. involvement with Ukraine. And, at the Pope's funeral in Rome, it was amazing what President Trump did when he sat down with Zelensky. Zelensky was in a panic because Trump was going to tell him like it is. Plus, Ukraine has connections to the Trump assassinations. We've talked about this a lot on the program. I may have to review it later. But he tried to bring Macron over to be his wingman, Zelensky. And what Trump said, they brought in the lip readers. And we got the whole conversation. And President Trump said to Macron, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. You have no, and Macron left. Okay? I mean, that was absolutely amazing. And after the break, I'm going to play this clip of Marco Rubio, who brought up something about Ukraine and Russia and the United States that is amazing. But first, I want to tell you about the free doorbell camera offer from Slomin's. This is amazing. You can get a free doorbell camera that connects directly to your cell phone with the installation of your Slomin Shield. I'm going to give you the number in a moment. Be ready to write it down. Call, take advantage of this. But Slomin's are also going to give you a free customized home security system and professional installation when you use their low-cost central station monitoring. You get an LED touchscreen, a motion detector, 10 contacts, a lifetime warranty, a backup battery, plus a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Slomin Shield. Here's the number: 1-833-283-5050. 1-833-283-5050. That's 1-833-283-5050. Get that free doorbell camera. You'll love it. It'll change your life, make you safer, and it's a lot of convenience, too. 1-833-283-5050. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. We'll be right back. We'll be back in just a few seconds. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian. It's the Steve Kane Show. Callers on hold, stand by. Our number's toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are listening. 1-888-465-2631. I just remembered some of you, Al Knight, our weekend guy, I bet he remembers this. I don't even remember the number. We used to have, this was like 30 years ago, people didn't have cell phones, they had car phones. Remember this? And we had special toll-free numbers for car phones. And I remember there was a number for Bell South Mobility, and I forget what the other company was. And it was, one was star something, the other one was pound something. I remember the numbers. But now that, because back then it cost 30 to 40 cents a minute to talk on a car phone. Remember that? Oh my goodness. But now it doesn't, those things don't matter. We moved into a new century with new things. But our number's toll-free no matter where you're listening, 888-465-2631. So Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he cleaned Kristen Welker's clock on Meet the Press. She's so arrogant and full of herself, she doesn't even know it. But Kristen Welker, I point this out from time to time because it's very important. She is not a journalist. She's not a reporter. She's a fake news journalist. She's a Democrat activist. And this is what I point to with that. When Barack Obama was president, Kristen Welker and her parents spent the night at the White House on Christmas Eve and woke up Christmas morning and spent Christmas morning with President Obama and the first family. And those girls that we see now that are always walking around smoking those Cheech and Chong-sized doobies, they were little girls at the time. So when you're so connected, you're spending Christmas morning with the President of the United States and the first family when they have little kiddies at the White House, you're not a journalist. you're a Democrat, hack, activist, donor, something, okay? But Marco Rubio dropped major news about Ukraine and Russia on Meet the Press. And it's surprising to me that people aren't picking up on this. I guess they're so into supporting these illegals and these criminal judges, they didn't hear it. But listen, this is Marco Rubio, also Meet the Press. Oh, hold on, let me turn up the volume. Here we go.
President Trump is about to mark his 100th day
in
office. It comes as a key campaign promise is to end the war in Ukraine, and against the backdrop of that extraordinary meeting between President Trump and President Zelensky. Mr. Secretary, is Russia and Ukraine now closer to a deal in the wake of that meeting?
Well, I think they're closer in general than they've been any time in the last 3 years, but it's still not there. And as I said, and he has said, and others have said, he's done an extraordinary job at the highest levels of our government. The president has put out everybody you can imagine, Ambassador Witkoff, myself, the National Security Advisor, the Vice President, been involved and engaged in this effort to bring the two sides closer so we can have path to peace. By the way, that's something that should be celebrated. He's trying to end a 3-year war that has no military solution, where every day people are dying, especially on the Ukrainian side, in many cases civilians and children, as we've seen the images over the last few weeks. He's trying to bring this war to an end. And we've made real progress. But those last couple steps of this journey were always going to be the hardest ones, and it needs to happen soon. We cannot continue, as I said, to dedicate time and resources to this effort if it's not going to come to fruition. So the last week has really been about figuring out how close are these sides really, and are they close enough that this merits a continued investment of our time as a mediator in this regard.
Wow. So this is amazing. Marco Rubio says that President Trump is about ready to walk away from the whole process because neither of these guys are signing the peace deal. What are we involved in it for? That's amazing. Well, we'll see if this puts pressure on Zelensky. You know, Zelensky, he's not really calling the shots. We know this, right? He's got the people behind him that are. He's trying to get NATO to back him. But there's no scenario where Ukraine wins a war against Russia. Russia is a massive country land-wise, even with all the independence that came from their former Soviet republics like Ukraine. And they have a large military. Ukraine, by comparison, small military, small country. And a whole chunk of it is occupied. Crimea and, of course, in eastern Ukraine, occupied. There's no hope for them to win. They have no choice but to come to some type of peace agreement. And if he would go along with President Trump, he could get the best deal possible because President Trump's going to make sure of that. But at some point, you got to say, what's the point? And when you're making a deal, if you want to make a deal, you got to be prepared to walk away. This is the art of the deal, what we just heard. President Trump is ready to walk away from Ukraine. And Macron, hey, buddy up with the French. When have the French ever not lost a war? That's right. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? What's your name? Where are you calling from? All right. Once, twice. All right. You missed your chance. The rest of you on hold, stand by. So just to finish up this hour with where we began, and then we'll get into some other stories in the next hour. And also, I will be recapping the poll, because that's got to be I got to go through that once an hour on the show today. It's too important. The media are dedicating too much time trashing Trump over this to try to, with this fake news poll that each hour, I did it in the first hour, I did it in this hour, and I'm going to do it in the third hour as well. Share with you how fake that poll is. It's just got to be done. And that methodology, you need to share that with as many people as you can. Share this program with people on all your socials. Okay? People are being lied to by the media each and every day. And one of the big things we do on this program and other shows like this too, it's what Hannity says, right? Combating left-wing media bias. We're combating fake news narratives all the time. Now, most of the time, they're not getting narratives off the ground. But this fake poll story, that's going viral. And I think I'm the only person, at least so far, that's gone through the fake methodology of how they got this push poll out there. And what's disgusting about it is everyone in media knows what they did, but none of them are reporting it. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. No, this is one of those days. Once, twice. All right, you're out. Oh, my goodness. Well, you know, what's happening is there's so much winning going on. The liberals are up to their old games. But the judges, I'll take one more call, and then I'm going to finish up this hour recapping the judges, and then we'll break. All right, let's see here. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Joel, I'm from Fort Lauderdale.
Hey, Fort Lauderdale.
Hey, I was driving to work yesterday, and right there at Southern Boulevard and 95, they have on the west side they have a huge billboard that says "Impeach Trump."
Yeah,
and that's got a website.
You know why it's there, right? You know why it's there?
What? Because of the 100 days?
No, that's the route President Trump takes to and from the Air Force One to Mar-a-Lago. They always have Trump at Southern Boulevard and I-95. They have had for years anti-Trump billboards because they figure he'll see them as he's going to or from Mar-a-Lago when he flies into the Palm Beach airport. I don't think he's looking at the billboards. He's probably talking to Elon or X. And so let them put their billboard up there and spin them. You know, they're in a panic because USAID got shut down. And now Trump's going after their other fake funder, and that's Act Blue, which is their political wing of the Democrats that's illegally taking foreign money by the hundreds of millions. So they're in a panic.
My boss, my old boss, he used to donate to Act Blue all the time.
Oh my goodness! Is he Chinese?
What's that?
Is he Chinese?
No.
Well, then he's an outlier. They got a lot of illegal foreign donors to that.
Oh, he hates Trump. Oh my God, he
Why?
hates Trump so much.
Why?
He's from New York. No, he's not from New York, but he spent a lot of time there.
Is he straight? Is he straight?
No. He's gay.
Oh, see now slow down a second here. Out of all the things, how do you think I knew he was gay? Because asking is he straight means is he gay? I just asked in a different way. How do you think I knew that your boss who hates Trump is gay?
I don't know.
Well, what kind of grown man would hate Trump? Right?
What you would be when I wear my Trump hat everywhere still. It's mostly white middle-aged guys, and I don't believe they're all gay, but there have been a few of them that have really gotten in my face about it. But anyways,
you know, what's it? You know, President Trump is so pro gay rights. In the first campaign, he's in favor of gay rights. He always has been. He's born and raised in New York. So why would your gay boss have an issue with Trump?
I think it's I have no idea.
Bad habit.
He's my old boss, but you know, my neighbor next door was just saying, Trump hates gays. He hates transgenders, and you know, he voted for Trump. He likes Trump. And I said, that is not true. That is not true. And then that ended the conversation.
Is he aware? Is he aware that President Trump made an openly gay man the Secretary of Treasury?
I know. He says, well, he has to. He has to.
He has to.
You know. Yeah. I said that's total crap. You can't talk to this guy though. But I wanted to find out how I see your interview with Newsmax. How do I go?
If you go to the Newsmax website and look up Wendy Bell's show, it's on their website. Look up Wendy Bell on Newsmax, and I don't know how. I know the last one will be up there, but maybe the others as well. But certainly the last one.
Okay, I've been wanting to.
And the last one, I actually shaved. I actually shaved completely clean shaven for that one. I don't usually totally clean shave, and I was on my back porch at my house on that one too.
Right.
All right, check it out. All right, appreciate the call. Yeah, Trump is so pro-gay rights, and you know that's one of the things that makes him different than a lot of these. Republicans, you know, with the Christian coalition and everything, were fighting against gay rights. And what happened is that is a settled issue. By the time Trump came on the scene in 2015, all the gay rights had been accomplished. Right? They'd all been accomplished. Why do you think they got this trans thing going on? Do you know why the trans thing is an issue? Why do you think it's an issue? These gay rights organizations are still in existence, right? Human Rights Foundation, all these gay rights, GLSEN, all these groups. These are big organizations where the leaders make big money, and there's, 6 figures, 7 figures. There's a lot of fundraising involved. And all the gay rights were accomplished. They even got gay marriage. But these groups didn't say, all right, we got all our gay rights, mission accomplished, and fold. They stayed in. So what are they going to fight for? They're out of things to fight for. So they got on this trans train. And they're supporting this trans stuff so they have something to stay in business for. It's just like the organizations like the NAACP, right? All the black civil rights organizations, when President Obama was reelected, they should have folded. Mission accomplished. Black man elected and reelected as president of the United States. We have equality now. But they can't do that. The people that run these organizations make big money. They don't want to fold and say mission accomplished. So they grab onto what? BLM. And they start bashing cops and get into the defund police business, which is fizzled out. But that's it. President Trump made a very smart decision. All the gay rights issues were settled, so he didn't get involved in that. So if you're a gay man or woman who thinks Trump is anti-gay rights, first of all, you got all the gay rights. What right do gays want that they don't have? They got everything. With the gay marriage, oh man, it's all done. So what are you still fighting for? And the Treasury Secretary is an openly gay man, and that is a very important job. It's like Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, and Treasury Secretary are the top 3, and then Attorney General, right? If he hated gays, why would he do that? All right, we're going to take our break for the top. We got a lot to cover still. My name's Brian Craig. You're listening to Florida's longest-running radio show, The Steve Kane Show, on the radio since 1977. If you're on hold, hang in there. Our number's toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are listening. All right, 2 hours down, 1 to go. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this. Okay. Hey. Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to put you on hold. We're going to have Scott on at the top, and then I'll conference you with him, but I got to call him. Hold on. Scott, cut my kilowatts. Yes, he is. Yep. Hey, Scott, it's Brian. Hey, I'm going to put you on hold. Stand by. Hold on. All right. Steve, you there? Steve? All right, hold on, Steve. Steve, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'm going to conference Scott. Hold on. Scott, you there? Yeah, hold on. Oh, goodness. Scott, hang in there, okay?
Sure.
Okay. Hey, hurry up, because we're coming back. All right, you there? Steve? Okay, hold on. All right, Steve, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, stand by. Hold on, I got to get Scott. All right, Scott, stand by. You there, Scott?
Yes,
I'm here.
Okay, stand by. Okay, 1 minute. We'll be live in 1 minute, so stand by, guys.
No problem.
30 seconds.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone. Hour number 3 has begun. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane is here, and it's time to check in with Scott from Cut My Kilowatts, who's going to share how you can save boatloads of money on your electric bill for the rest of the time you live in your house. And you know, Scott from Cut My Kilowatts, you've been with us here on the Steve Kane Show, I don't know, 15 years or so, and I tell you, it looks like we don't have a rainy season this year, and it is scorching hot each and every day. Can you tell people about Radiant Barrier and how you can save them big money on their electric bill?
Well, yeah, Radiant Barrier like literally stops the heat gain at your house right at the roof. It's put on the bottom of the rafters with staples, and it reflects the sun's energy back out of the roof, which stops the radiant heat gain, which is what is really kicking your ass down here in South Florida in the summer, because the ambient temperature in the attic, just it sits up there and actually rises. It goes out the vents. But the radiant heat energy, because your roof heats up, just barrels down on your insulation that you have in your attic, heats it up, and then it stays hot all day and into most of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're at a point where it's still not. It hasn't reached that point where it's so hot in the attic in the mornings that we can't, that when we get there, they're already scorching. So we can get the work done really quick. So, I mean, I'm offering extra special discounts, deals, package deals. I mean, if I know everyone's money's tight, your credit's tight. I mean, I'm in the same situation. But, I mean, if you can, start a process with me at least to get the Radiant Barrier up, because that's the most labor-intensive job, and that's the worst one to do in the heat. We can come back and blow insulation in later if you need it. If you have duct issues, we can change an entire system or just do a repair if we can repair it. Having a broken duct in your attic is like having an artery
Absolutely.
leading out on your leg.
Absolutely.
And you're air conditioning your attic, not your house.
And the radiant barrier, the way I just, sometimes people ask me a little more about it, and the way I describe the radiant barrier is this. Okay, it's like having a massive shade tree put over your home, and it keeps, and you get a big shade tree over your home. That heat from the sun isn't barreling down on your attic all day. And when you get the radiant barrier, the shade tree over your home through the radiant barrier, it means your air conditioning unit doesn't have to run as long each day to cool off your house. And that means if your air conditioner is not running all day, it's not running as hard, you don't just prolong the life of your air conditioner, you're saving a lot of money on your electric bill. And once... Yeah.
Yeah, usually radiant barrier will cut your electric bill 20 to 30%.
Boom.
And then
just
if
like that.
you need insulation too, and you add insulation, you might pick up another 5-10% on that. But most people just have insulation in their house. So what happens is once the insulation heats up, you just have to keep combating that heat gain with air conditioning. And a lot of people call the air conditioning guy and say, hey, my house isn't cool. My air's not running. The AC guy comes out because this is what he does for a living, and he sells you a bigger unit, so that in effect raises your electric bill. And
That's
your
right.
air still runs all the time.
That's right.
If your house is cool at night, like 3 or 4 in the morning, and the AC is not running that much, you have a heat gain problem if it's not keeping up
That's
during
right.
the day.
Now, and remember, once you have the radiant barrier, you have it forever. So this savings every month on your electric bill is for the rest of the time you live in your home. Listen, give Scott at Cut My Kilowatts a call. Can you give them a quote right over the phone, Scott?
Yeah, listen, I give them a quote. I can give them a quote right over the phone, and I usually give them the worst case scenario quote. That way there's no surprises. It's not like, okay, I told you it was going to be, $2,000, and now it's going to be, $10,000. I mean, I'll go through each system, quote each system, worst case scenario, and then when we get there, to do the work, we inspect it, and a lot of times it's the case they don't need the duct system, right? There's no problem there. So we don't change that. We're not out there to rip you off.
Well, listen, I'm going to give the number out. Now, you guys can call or text Scott from Cut My Kilowatts. This number rings directly to his cell phone, so you can call or text 954-939-1500. 954-939-1500. That's 954-939-1500. All right, Scott, we'll talk later in the week.
Hey, and listen, this weather's going to change overnight, and then it's going to be hot, and then the prices go up. Like 20 to 40%.
Okay.
20% on insulation and 40% on radiant barrier. I don't want to charge people more money. I like to do the work when it's cool. Guys like to do it. We get it done fast. It's a good deal for you, and it's a good deal for us.
All right, again, that's 954-939-1500. All right, take care. Scott from Cut My Kilowatts. Thank you. All right, now, Steve, there's so much going on. I want to recap a couple big stories with you, if that's all right, because there's a couple big ones. You back with us, Steve?
Yes,
all right, go ahead.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm with you.
Okay. There's 2 stories out there that I think are the lead stories today. The one is the great arrest of these corrupt criminal judges, and the other one is this fake poll showing that Trump has the lowest approval rating of any president in 80 years. Which one do you want me to start with? Because I want to recap both. The fake poll.
Start with either. Also, by the way, I wanted just to throw this out I'm going to double check my information. I understand today is the first day Congress is back to deal with the big beautiful bill.
Oh, well, I don't know. I hope so. That sounds good to me. I didn't see that, but that'd be great.
I'd like to find out.
Well,
I think that is true.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's a good thing. Okay, well, let me do the poll first because we went a little long there, so it's going to be a short segment, and the poll's the faster one to do. Okay, and by the way, guys, my apologies for running long. It's my responsibility not to do that, and I failed you. So this will be a short segment, but because we're making this a short segment, we'll be on time for the rest of the show. Okay. Okay. They have this poll out that the media started with yesterday, and they're just going nuts with it. And it says that Trump's approval rating is the lowest in 80 years for a president at the 100-day mark. Now, as soon as I saw that poll, I know it's total BS, okay? First off, this is not Trump's first 100 days. It's his second 100 days, right? Because it's his second term. But President Trump made history. He's only the second president in history to be elected to a second non-consecutive term. And when he did that, he won every battleground state, okay? And in a lot of blue states like California, he flipped a whole bunch of counties red for the first time. So the very fact, but forgetting about winning all the battlegrounds and flipping those counties in California and in New York too, the fact that he just got elected to a second and non-consecutive term, we're only 3-4 months in, there's no way he has the lowest approval rating in almost 100 years of a president. That's just...
Yeah, the poll that came out this morning is what I would call a wish poll.
Oh, yeah,
That's
fantasy. Yeah.
Democrats wish the polls were.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, exactly.
For them, so.
Yeah, they're wish poll. So I pulled up the methodology. It's an ABC Washington Post poll. I pulled up the methodology of who they polled and how they polled, okay? So that's what I'm going to share with you. And it's one long sentence with a lot of commas in it, but it's only one paragraph. And if you find the methodology of the poll, it's on page 7, okay, of the poll. And you guys can look this up. It's the methodology of that poll. It's on page 7, and you can read it for yourself and fact check me if you don't trust me. Okay, so here's the methodology of this poll, Steve. This ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll was conducted online. Okay, I'm going to stop there. How do you conduct a scientific poll online? It's impossible. An online poll is a poll that people voluntarily answer, right? They see a poll online and they click and answer, right? One person could vote 1,000,001 times on a poll like that. There's no way to do a scientific poll online. But anyway, that's not the worst of it. This ABC Washington Post Ipsos poll was conducted online via the probability-based Ipsos Knowledge Panel from April 18th through the 22nd. The poll was in English and Spanish. Well, wait a minute. We're doing a political poll on the President of the United States of America, not the President of Central or South America. Why would they be doing this online poll in Spanish? That already puts it against Trump right there. Among a random sample of among a random national sample of 2,464 adults. Well, that's the next problem. That's the least scientific of polling samples you can have, adults, all right? Here's how it works. If you're doing a scientific poll, you have a poll. First, the most accurate is a poll of likely voters. Likely voters are people that voted in the past 2 elections and are going to vote in the next one. Then the next one down the list is less scientific, is of registered voters. Registered voters may be registered, but they never vote. Doesn't mean anything. Then they do a poll of Americans. They're Americans, but they may not even be registered to vote. And then adults, okay? They may not even be Americans. They're just adults because they did this poll in English and Spanish. But here's the breakdown. Here was the partisan division. 30% Democrat, 30% Republican, and 29% independent. Now, it's been my experience, and I think you'll agree with this, Steve, talking to independents on the phone, typically an independent caller is independently a lying Democrat, right? So,
or in favor or opposed to Trump.
Yeah, exactly, or a never Trumper. So they have a poll, Steve, that is 59% anti-Trump, Democrat and never Trumpers, and 30% Republican. Okay? So they did a poll in Spanish. They did the least scientific sample of all in English, and 59% of those polled are either Democrats or never Trumpers. That doesn't sound like a very accurate poll. And the reason ABC, I know, do they think we're stupid? I guess they do, Steve. They think the American people are stupid.
Most people that read their
the material, or they're not going to double check them. That's what they count.
Well, that's why I've been going over this every hour on the show today since the 6 o'clock hour, because no one else will do this, really. Now, some people may steal what we're doing and do it, and that's great without giving us credit. I'm used to that. But this is insane. A poll of 59% Democrat and Trump haters, 30% Republican. And what they're doing is President Trump this week is having his 100-day celebration rally in Michigan, and they're trying to soil that by saying he's really not popular. Don't believe those MAGA crazies. This poll is so fake.
What are they going for? They have nothing positive to present themselves.
No.
So what they've got to try to do is what they always do, which is on the issue.
That's right, lie.
And they always seem to find a way to lose them. Man.
Exactly. So this poll is 100% fake. And by the way, I've never heard of them doing a poll on the American president in Spanish before. I've never seen that before. First time I've ever seen that. What the heck? Who does that? Have you ever seen that, Steve? I've never seen them do a presidential poll in Spanish. Ever. And did any of the news stories tell you any of the information that I just gave you? I don't think so. No. All right. We're going to take the first break of the third hour, and then I want to talk about the great arrest of these crooked judges. Okay? All right. Steve Kane's here. I'm Brian Craig. It is the Steve Kane Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. Our number is toll-free, 1-888-465-2631. We'll be right back. All right, you there, Steve? Steve? Steve, you there?
Your call has been forwarded to voice.
Unbelievable.
Hello?
Hey, hang in there. We're coming back. Stand by.
Okay.
Stand by. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. Steve Kane is here. All right, let's talk about the judges, Steve, because this was beautiful. So they arrested the judges on Friday, right? They did one on Thursday and one on Friday, all right? Now, the judge in New Mexico and his wife, we're going to find all kinds of freaky stuff about that guy. I mean, that was weird. The one that had the Trinde guy living in his house?
Yeah.
Did you see any of the photographs?
No.
Oh, my. There was the judge in New Mexico that got arrested with his wife. He's the one that had the gang member living at the house. There's one picture of him with the guy. It looks like they're both in their underwear. It was very strange. So we're going to find out. There's all kinds of freaky stuff going on there.
That was my first impulse with that.
Oh, yeah.
My first line one.
Yeah, well, it was just, But the one in Wisconsin, that's a whole nother deal. This guy in New Mexico, there's a freak show going on. Also, he could be on the take. There's all kinds of stuff going on. This judge, though, in Wisconsin is your stereotypical liberal Democrat public official in the United States with their sanctuary city nonsense and everything they've been carrying on with, okay? And what you have this judge in Wisconsin, you got the mayor of Boston who takes CCP money, we found out a week or two ago. You know, all these sanctuary city public officials. You cannot harbor federal fugitives from justice in your courtroom or in your city. It's illegal. You can't obstruct federal agents and you can't lie to federal agents. You couldn't say, okay, my courtroom or my city is a sanctuary city for federal bank robbers. That's not even a credible thing, right? So, but what this judge, and there was a very good reason that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel arrested these judges before anybody else in the lawfare people, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But the judge in Wisconsin the lady judge who they arrested in her judge's robe. Did you see the perp walk?
I don't think
it was beautiful. They took her out of the courthouse in handcuffs wearing her judge's robe. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Yeah. I mean, I loved it. I loved it. It never gets old. But what she did was completely insane. So there's a guy this illegal is on trial in her courtroom, and Pam Bondi talked about this, but I'll tell you what she said. This guy, he beat and choked a man. He beat up a woman with his closed fist. So here's another beater of
illegal. This is the illegal immigrant you're talking.
Yeah, this is the Wisconsin judge's arrest. She had this guy in her courtroom on a domestic battery case, just like the fake Maryland man in El Salvador. This guy beat a woman with his bare fist, his closed fist. Hardcore. I don't know what it is with these different. So the ICE and FBI show up at the courthouse. They want to arrest him. He's wanted, and he's a very violent criminal. She yells at the federal agents, and then she distracts them. She goes back into her courtroom. She takes this illegal beater of women and his lawyer back to her chambers. And judges have private entrances at courthouses into their chambers for their own protection, right? Because they're judges, and the bad guys they can't. She lied to the federal agents after she yelled at them. She goes back into her courtroom. She takes this beater of women and his lawyer, who's wanted by the feds outside, into her chambers and shows him an escape route through the back door in her chambers. Now, they got him later in the courthouse. They chased him down. I don't know why his lawyer hasn't been arrested, but she was helping she concocted an entire escape plan, and then she went through with the plan with a federal fugitive. You can't lying to federal agents sends you to prison. Okay, the federal prisons are filled with people who lied to federal agents, which she did. But then she helped this federal fugitive of justice who beats up women with his fist, gave him an escape route. Now, I know in her mind, she thinks she was helping Anne Frank escape the Nazis. Okay, but these sanctuary public officials, mayors, judges, police chiefs, county sheriffs, whatever they are all criminal when they do such things, okay? They still have to obey the laws.
Are they scheduled for any more hearings on this today?
She's got to be arraigned. I don't know if they arraigned her over the weekend or if it'll be today, but unfortunately there's no camera in federal courtrooms. But there's going to be other arrests like this because what they're doing is illegal, and they feel totally invincible. But over the weekend, the immediate reaction in the fake news media was to attack the arrest of the judge. But by yesterday, that started to change. Over the weekend, Andrew McCabe, remember he was the acting FBI director that Trump fired like 3 days before he got his pension?
Yes.
He was on CNN.
Well.
Yeah, McCabe went on CNN over the weekend and said these charges are solid. He didn't like that they arrested her in the courthouse in her robe and did the perp walk, but he said these charges are solid. It's a good arrest. So now, Bill Barr, who was Trump's second attorney general in the first term, who's a Trump hater and a Bush Republican, even he said these charges are solid. So now,
Well, Barr's pretty well respected.
by never Trumpers, he hates Trump. He hates Trump.
Well, and he's not a Trump fan, but he has an air of respectability.
But now we've got McCabe is one of the biggest Trump haters in America. Okay, he's real tight with Comey. And even he says this is a good arrest. Okay, so now here we are, 2-3 days later. People are starting to say, "Wow, they're starting to learn what she did and who she was helped escape." They're defending the arrest. So Pam Bondi, President Trump hires the best, and one thing he did with this new cabinet that he picked, and people like Kash Patel, he not only hired people that are great at their jobs. He hired people that are media people, that are media savvy. And we talked about this when he started making appointments. I mean, half the Fox News lineup is in the cabinet, right? I mean, or they're pundits. So the reason that you want competent people that are very good and media people, whatever you're doing, you have to be able to sell it through the media to the American people. So these two judges, we never heard of these judges before they were arrested Thursday and Friday. Now everybody knows what happened. The reason they went after these judges first is when they start going after the people whose name everybody knows, the Fannie Willises, right? The Letitia James, the Braggs, the Comeys, and these lawfare people, right? The Justice Department will have credibility because these arresting judges is a big deal. It's very unusual, right? Especially in the courtroom like in Wisconsin. The other guy was arrested in his freaky house, okay? But the judge in the courtroom with the robes. So when they start arresting these people that are household names, they've gained a lot of credibility with the public over the arrest of these judges. They'll have more support when they start going after the lawfare people. If they first started with the lawfare people, it would cause craziness. But now they're like, oh wow, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, they really did it. And these are bad people they arrested. These are credible people. Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi. It'll give they'll have more support when they do the household name arrest from the lawfare people, which will be coming up. When, I don't know, but it's happening. I'm telling you, it's happening. But this was such a media savvy way to start doing their arrest, because this was their first major arrest, I would say. All right, let's take our break for the bottom of the hour. You're listening to Florida's longest running radio show, The Steve Kane Show. If you'd like to call in, please do. Our number is toll free, 1-888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you are listening. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane's here. We'll take our break and be right back.
War?
Hold on, Steve. Hold on.
War?
Steve, stand by. Hold on. Steve, you there? All right, we'll be back in 30 seconds.
What?
Steve, we're coming back in 30 seconds. Steve, we're coming back. We're coming back.
I just need Mom here.
Steve. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane's here. If you're on hold, hang in there. Our number 888-465-2631. All right, let's go to our phones. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian and Steve. Never Trumper Steve here in Palm City. Steve, I wanted to ask you, now Brian brought up this morning the one poll, and I haven't listened since 6:15, so I don't know if you brought up any other polls. But, I mean, I have for you, I looked at the poll that you love to quote during the campaign, the Rasmussen poll, which is conservative-leaning, and they're a little better. But he's still underwater there as well. 47% approve of his Trump's performance and 51%.
Well, first off, Steve, never Trumper Steve. The poll that's in the news today, okay, is this fake news ABC Washington Post Ipsos poll. It's a totally bogus poll. The media, all of them are pushing it, that Trump has the lowest approval rating in 80 years. I've gone through in each hour of the show, including just a few minutes ago in this hour, how the poll's a fake poll. They did the poll in Spanish. What are they doing a poll on the American presidency in Spanish for?
Yeah, but the problem is they quoted lots of polls over the weekend.
No, you're not going to divert. You're not going to.
Well,
you mean this? Listen
they're
here,
all bad.
Steve. they're all fake polls. Then any poll that shows Trump unpopular is a fake poll.
So if you don't like the poll, they're fake.
Let me get Steve. This is Steve Kane, your counterpart. Let me just say something. I think the point Steve is making is a fair point. I don't see why you can deny it. We knew that at this point we were going to have to close a couple, or some certain people around the edges were going to start to get nervous. I mean, we knew that. We anticipated that. Today is the day we're finally going. There's nothing wrong with these polls that passing the budget won't cure. Do you agree or disagree?
Or a year from now, the polls could be better, and it won't matter what today's poll is. But if you're going to debunk the latest,
I agree with you. I agree with you that the polls are not the most accurate. But as polls go, I'm just trying to tell you unless we closed one, there was going to be some erosion. So this erosion, it's no big story. It's predictable.
But isn't it common sense?
Never Trumper Steve. Take a chill pill.
I want to talk to Steve for a minute. Steve, do you agree or disagree that if today the budget passed today, okay, and we were home free on that issue, do you think what do you think the polls will look like the next day?
If what happened is explained to the American people, it might be worse, because for the budget to be approved, it means they cut out things that shouldn't be cut out.
Wash their brains. What you're saying is you can wash their brains. That wasn't the question. The question is people.
You're saying would the polls be better or worse? I'm telling you they'd be worse.
Such nonsense.
Well, you made my point.
Steve, Never Trumper Steve, slow down for a second, okay? Now, this is for both Steve Kane and Never Trumper Steve. Couple things, okay? This poll that we're talking about today, that they did in Spanish, where they poll 59% Democrats and Trump haters, is insane. President Trump made history. He's the second president ever to be elected to a second and non-consecutive term, which has only happened once before. It happened in the 1800s with Grover Cleveland, right? So
well, you're dealing with reality now.
So-
You don't expect Democrats to be dealing with
he
reality.
he won every
If
battle.
Democrats start
He won.
dealing with reality, it's razor blades.
Yeah, so just based on
Well,
that alone,
reality
slow down, never Trumper Steve, never Trumper Steve, slow down. Slow
This
down.
is the worst poll ever.
Slow down. Let me finish my thought in question, never Trumper Steve. Okay, so he just made history with the second non-consecutive term, won every battleground state, and the list goes on and on and on. Okay, he's about to have his first 100-day celebratory rally in Michigan. And then 2 days before, all these fake news polls come out and shows that he has the lowest approval rating in history. That's not even credible. Not even credible, especially because it's not true. These are push polls, especially when you guys on the left are defending beaters of women and terrorists. This is nonsense. You know, Cory Booker and who's that other idiot Democrat? They had this sit-in at the Capitol building yesterday. 12 people showed up. Okay? You got no support, and the polls are fake.
Can I get a word in? What voters are looking at today, which is reflecting in the polls, is
The
his
fake polls.
promises day one have not occurred. That's what they're
I
giving
know.
the review
All
of.
the MAGA people that regret their votes that don't exist.
Well, let me ask you. Egg prices. Do you believe egg prices are down 87%? That's what he
Yes.
said last week.
Yes.
And you've always said every
Yes.
word out of his mouth is accurate.
Yes.
Do you believe that?
Yeah, and in fact, he was
So I
involved,
get to use
he was involved in a big egg purchase for the White House Easter egg roll. That's how he knows.
So I get to use my BA in accounting. For egg prices to be down 87%, that means we were paying approximately $45 a dozen. Does that sound right to you?
No,
How could
that's
it be
none of
down
that's true.
87,
Now, if you go
90%?
out and buy the cruelty-free eggs, where they're kind to the chickens before they cut their heads off, and they feed them whole grain and steak and Kobe beef, you pay a lot more. I buy the store brand Publix eggs, and they're down. That's a fact.
They're $5 and change. Nothing is
They're
down.
down. They are down.
He's gonna
They are
end the Gaza
down.
war
They
day
are
one.
down.
He's going to end the Ukraine war before inauguration. These are all promises that haven't been kept. So why are the polls that unusual to you?
basically what we have is Trump haters like you still hate him, and MAGA voters that elected him, we still love him.
Well, some of the categories are so bad, as much as 88%.
If he's so unpopular, if he's so
But meanwhile, you can't find anybody who's willing to accept the nomination of your party because they know it's a loser.
if he's so unpopular, okay, why did they do a poll in Spanish at ABC News? Why are they polling people in Spanish?
I have no idea.
Steve. What that is, it's called, you know, you're not stupid. You're just a liar. You know exactly what's going on. Those are called push.
Steve has already called me
Those
stupid,
are
so you're wrong about that as well.
what? What we said? You're smart. You're listen.
And let's not talk
No,
about
excuse
lying.
me, Steve.
When
Excuse
you
me.
on Friday
I'm
claimed
gonna.
I used profanity on the air, and that was not
I am
true.
going to.
You and I both know that's
I am
not
going
true.
to.
That's lying.
I did not lie. Okay, there's a difference
Change
between.
the subject.
Exactly. There's a difference in being mistaken and knowingly lying. You're knowingly lying. The reason they did a poll in Spanish, polling 59% Democrats and never Trumpers, and polled adults, not registered or likely voters, those are called push polls. They do a poll. The result is already determined before the poll is even done. And you know this. And so these polls are
If you could have
absurd.
found a poll in your favor, you would have talked about it.
I don't talk about polls.
Where is the poll that you like?
None. I
You
don't
found a poll that
follow
you
the
like?
polls, Steve. I don't follow.
You did during the campaign. You did every day. You were talking about polls.
Brian, I want to ask you a simple question. It's a hypothetical. It's a simple one. If when Trump makes his speech or whatever he's saying, he announces a package has been arranged with 5 of the nations we're negotiating with, that we've reached a settlement on the trades issue. What do you think would happen to his polls overnight? What do you think? And don't claim ignorance here at this point. You've established your expertise.
Yes,
so
Steve.
as an expert on this issue, what would happen when he releases his package with the first 5 or 10 countries that have signed up with the program?
Never
Hello?
Trumper, Steve? Yeah, I guess he's
yeah.
too much logic. Steve, I got to tell.
He hung up with
Yeah, he
answering?
didn't. I guess he had a pause, but you know what? It's time for a break anyway. Perfect time to end that call. The rest of you on hold, stand by. I want to talk about coastal weight loss secret. Steve, I got those of you that watch on YouTube. I have lost so much weight that you can see so much. I mean, Steve, my stomach and waist is the size it was when I first met you 30 years ago. I have lost so much weight. I've got my T-shirt tucked in. I've not tucked a T-shirt in like in 20 years. And I tucked my T-shirt in by accident. I got dressed in the bathroom this morning, and I put my shirt on first, and then I put my pants on, and my shirt was tucked in. I said, oh, my goodness, look how flat my stomach is. You know, and it's amazing. I've lost over 35 pounds, and you can too. Now, a caller called in earlier and said, how could you do that without exercise? I do not exercise. The only thing I exercise is my mouth, okay? And I don't know how many calories that burns. I have done zero exercise. I'm eating foods I would normally eat, and, Wings Plus, places like that. And I'm not taking any prescription medication like Ozempic, and I've lost all this weight, and you can too. Give Coastal Weight Loss Secret a call. I'm going to give you their number. When you call, make sure you tell them you heard about them on the True Oldies channel. 561-247-6300. 561-247-6300. Oh, yeah, and I'm not hungry all day either. 561-247-6300. And online, coastalweightloss.secret.com. All right, Steve, I'm going to put you on hold, and we're going to come back with your calls and the first gold report of the week. We'll be right back.
Good morning.
Hey there. Hold on. It's Brian. Put you on hold for just a moment. All right. Steve, you there?
Yes, I am.
All right. Hold on. I'm going to conference William. All right, William. Stand by. We'll be back in 1 minute. Stand by. Back in a few seconds. Welcome back, everyone. It's the Steve Kane Show. Steve Kane here. I'm Brian Craig, and it's time to check in with William Youngerman from the offices of William Youngerman Incorporated in Boca with the first gold and precious metals report of the week. William Youngerman, how are the metals starting off?
Starting off a little bit lower, but that's on the heels of last week's amazing ride to $3,500 on gold on Tuesday, hitting $3,500 before putting in a reversal, turning around and closing out that day at $3,379. So we had a big move in the precious metals, but also in an overbought condition. Gold was able to do what it has been doing on this big rally in this bull market for the last few months, and that is put in a short-term reversal, giving it some time to build a base and pull back, giving us a buying opportunity. And that's what we had last week. After that $3,500 price, the week it closed out at $3,318.30 on Friday, which was down $30.50. Silver closed out the week at $33.05. That was down 47 cents on Friday. Platinum gained at $9.72, closed at $9.72, up $1, and palladium was down $3 at $9.30. This morning, overnight, we've seen gold trading in a range of 32.66 to 33. 77. Right now we're at $32.96.50. That's down $21.80, just under that $3,300 number, which we are thinking is going to become a base for gold. We'll see if that can do that, but not bad after these historic gains that we've seen in the precious metal. Silver acting very well. It's at $33 right now, down 5 cents, but seemingly trying to build a base around that $33 number. Platinum and palladium have both been doing better in a market that is poised to say industrial metals will be rising with inflation and other maybe more usage in this country. Platinum up $18 this morning at $990 the ounce. Palladium up $10 at $940. So gold just under $3,300 this morning.
Wow, that's amazing. Now let me ask you, in the fractional gold coins, like the 10th ounce, the quarter ounce, and the half ounce, is there any particular one that you think is best, or does it not matter? Because I know all the major mints have them, like the American Gold Eagle, and is there any particular one you recommend, or are they all good?
Well, if you're going for fractionals, the most practical and the most popular is the 1/10 ounce coins. They're
really
very popular, and it does give you an easy a product in which to determine how much gold content it has, 1/10 ounce. When you start dealing in the small and different sizes of the gram bars, it gets a little bit more complicated to know exactly what your gold value is, especially if you're not in this country used to dealing in grams as opposed to ounces. But
and when
all of them are popular.
And those 10th ounce gold coins, remember guys, when you get 10 of them, you got an ounce of gold. Right? I mean, that's amazing. And boom, 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 just like that. Listen, William Youngerman opens up at 10 a.m. And remember, at William Youngerman's, all the metals are there and available for immediate delivery. Stop in Boca at 150 East Palmetto Park Road on the first floor of the Bank of America building, immediately east of US 1 Federal Highway on the south side of Palmetto. Give them a call toll free, 1-800-327-5010. 1-800-327-5010. 5010. And find William's phone number and address online at williamyoungerman.com. That's williamyoungerman.com. All right, William Youngerman, we'll touch base tomorrow.
Okay, have a great day.
All right, take care. All right, Steve, the phones are ringing off the hook. Yeah, I guess. Now, I just want to say, some people off air have been saying, why are you making a big deal that they polled people in Spanish? There are lots of languages spoken around the world. Well, this is why. In the United States, English is the language, and I've been following politics pretty much my whole life. I follow polls, and I have never in my life seen a poll of an American president that was done in English and Spanish, ever. Now, if you're doing a Telemundo poll maybe, right, or Univision, but not an ABC poll. I've never seen that before, and it tells you, it's evidenced that it is a push poll looking to get a desired result. Don't you understand what I'm telling you? They're trying to spoil the Trump or people that are South Americans or Central Americans and not even United States of Americans. You know, they want to get their opinions, which the only opinions that matter are Americans who are registered to vote and vote. And if you did a poll, notice they've got this narrative that Trump voters regret their vote. If that were the case, they'd be giving us polls of just Trump voters and say, look, 20% of Trump voters regret their vote. You don't see any such polls because that is another liberal urban legend that the media are pushing on you that is not true. All right. Our number is 888-465-2631, and we'll go back to the calls. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Jay from Jersey. I'm not going to argue your good morning. I'm just going to give you an example of how you're saying the polls are wrong. This is what I'm going to say. Now, I'm going to take what happened maybe 2 weeks ago. They had a rally in Utah, red state of Utah, all nice, MAGA Republicans. And 20,000 showed up on the inside, and 4,000 showed up on the outside. of Republicans. So
All right,
that's why the polls are changing.
Jay,
Go ahead.
I got a question. If what you're saying is true, let's, for the sake of argument, say what you're saying is true. Why are the Democrats having such trouble finding a leader for their party that's willing to take over this moribund, dying party? Why is it they're having so much trouble locating a leader?
They have a leader. What's his new UConn with Cory Booker.
Cory Booker.
Can take over.
Cory Booker.
But what about what I just asked you? How did he get 25?
Who's he? Who's the he?
Oh gosh, now his name's gonna go out of my head.
Bernie.
Bernie Sanders.
Okay, slow down.
Did you see how many?
Slow down, Steve.
Did you see that one?
Slow down.
Did you see that?
Slow down for a second, Steve. What this guy is telling us is that 4,000 Republicans showed up at the Bernie Sanders AOC rally?
25,000.
So what?
In an arena in Utah, red state of Utah.
Okay.
Those are Republicans that are pissed
Wait a
at
minute.
Trump.
25,000 Republicans went to a rally for Bernie Sanders and AOC?
With Bernie Sanders. Okay.
How do you know that doesn't even make sense? Why would Republicans go to that?
Look it up.
How do you know they're Republicans?
It was on TV. They showed us the rally.
How do you know they're
Republicans?
Oh my! I got to let him go. How do you know they're Republicans? I mean, that's just, here. I give you an example. Here in Florida, this is a red state. This is the most MAGA state in the union. However, there are some Democrat counties. I live in one and Steve lives in one, right? Palm Beach, where Mar-a-Lago is, in Broward County. Even in red states, there are still Democrats, all right? So the idea that 25,000 Republicans showed up to listen to AOC and Bernie Sanders, come on, Steve. That's not even credible. That's insane. And if that happened, we would not only would we know about it, the news would be upset. 25,000 MAGA voters showed up for AOC and Bernie Sanders. That'd be all over the news, and they would be focusing all over that. And I don't know where he heard that from, HuffPost or something, Rachel Maddow or some idiot on MSNBC that I don't watch over the weekend. But that's not even a credible statement,
Is that
Steve.
Jay from Jersey we're talking to?
That was Jay from Jersey. I mean, that was...
Jay, you there still?
No, we lost Jay, but we got some other callers, Steve. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian from Deerfield.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian. Hi, Steve. How are you? I'd like to sum up all these guys on the left right now. What we listen to on a daily basis is the rantings of a failing or already failed political party.
Yes.
And if they weren't having these rantings, they would almost be totally irrelevant because that's the only thing they got to talk about. And they're going on and on this. And the American people understand this. I mean, listen, they're digging a bigger hole for themselves. They got nobody in the bullpen to run.
I
They
mean,
have
listen,
no political
if
leadership.
you want to, you don't need to go any further than Cory Booker sitting on the steps of the Capitol with 8 or 12 people yesterday, calling that a rally. I mean, give me a break.
And that's a rally. I mean, that's just how sick they are. Don't they see we don't see the optics of this?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I tell you some optics I saw over the weekend is watching Joe trotting around the Vatican with his aviator glasses on.
Oh, yes.
There's the guy that's usually responsible for this terrible war we have with Ukraine and Russia. This guy is responsible for so much damage to this country, and that party's never going to live this down. They're never going to live this.
No, you're right. Hey, Brian, appreciate the call. Oh, Steve, I got to tell everybody about the free doorbell camera offer from Sloman's. The doorbell camera from Sloman's is obviously a great addition to your home security because you get a notification on your phone no matter where you are when there's movement at your door. But I don't have people breaking into my house every day. But what I do have, I have door-to-door sale. Do you have any solicitors that come to your house, Steve?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I see them before they know I see them. And the solicitors are always trying to trick me, right? They knock like really, you know what I mean? They try to knock like it's your wife coming home or your kids locked out or something. They're trying to trick you with the knock. And I could see them no matter. I could be at Publix, I could be on our cruise, I could be in the bathroom. I get a notification on my phone of like, oh, here we go. So that's what I use it for most of the time, quite honestly. But also, my DoorDash, my Amazon deliveries, I get a notification every time Amazon pulls up. I know it's them. I know it's my package. Boom, I got it. It's a great thing to have. And you can get a doorbell camera from Sloman's that connects to your cell phone for free with the installation of your Sloman Shield. But that's not all, okay? I mean, this is a really, truly amazing offer, okay? They're going to give you a free customized home security system and professional installation when you use their low-cost central station monitoring. They're going to give you an LED touchscreen, a motion detector, 10 contacts, a lifetime warranty, and a backup battery. Plus, you'll get a free doorbell camera with the installation of your Sloman Shield. Give them a call, 1-833-283-5050. 1-833-283-5050. That's 1-833-283-5050. All right, listen, the rest of you on hold, we're pretty much out of time for today. We don't have time for any more calls, but if you hold on, you'll be first when we go live tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. online, okay? So if you hang in there, you'll be first in line on tomorrow's show. We've had a lot of liberals calling the show lately, Steve, and some of them are delusional. Some of them are just lying, but a lot of them are also in panic states.
They're into magic thinking.
Magic thinking, yes. Wishful thinking.
Positive thoughts make their own affirmations come true.
Oh, yeah, they're into manifestation. If they say it, it'll come true. Yeah, they're into Well, liberal manifestations are not going to come true. President Trump is your president, and he was just elected to a second and non-consecutive term. Mm-hmm.
Right through the next election.
That's right. All right, we're out of time for today. I'm Brian Craig. Steve Kane is here. This is the Steve Kane Radio Show, Florida's longest-running radio show. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Oh, man, that was some show today. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts? And you can call me, by the way, if you'd like. I might take a call or two here with the post show. What are your thoughts on the breakdown I did of the polls? Because that was these polls are just total falsehoods. We don't get presidents that are reelected to non-consecutive terms too much. It's only happened once before in the 1800s. So to pull that off, right, leaving office, coming back 4 years later with all the crap they put him through in 4 years, to try to say that everybody regrets that. People stuck through Trump through thick and thin, okay? And through the fake court battles, the fake arrest, the fake felonies, the civil cases, everything else. When they shot Trump in Butler, they stayed there to protect him. They didn't run during a mass shooting event. But now, all of a sudden, they're running tail. It doesn't even make sense. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. It's JJ from Mass.
Hey, JJ. You're in the post show.
Yes. Yeah.
Hold on. Let me put you on hold because people are calling in. Every once in a while, I'll do the post show. This show's only on YouTube when we sign off the radio. Yep. What's on your mind, man?
Well, I thought it was an excellent breakdown of the poll. I mean, the Democrats. I mean, the MO has not changed. You got the 2-year-old, this 2-year-old being deported. The fake poll, the due process, they're continuing the lie, and I think they're in survival mode because if they tell the truth, they're done immediately, and I think they're just scrambling right now to see if they can get anything to take hold. And this poll is just one of those things they've thrown up against the wall because nobody believes it. It's like, who would believe a 2-year-old baby was being deported? I saw that on X, and I commented on 3 posts in a row. All I typed was BS.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know, Brian, the story yet. They were telling me
I knew what the story was right away because they Tom Homan and others for the last couple of months have been telling us that when a parent who's illegal gets deported, They can take their children that are U.S. citizens with them, or they can stay with a relative in the U.S. I knew that's exactly what happened when I saw that story. It was obvious.
Yep. Yeah, it was beyond. The thing is, it was just beyond obvious. But the fact that the internet trolls and or the media, they try to paint it in another light. They try to deceive. I even had one guy use a Bible verse against me, Leviticus something, whatever, and I just said, okay, Bible boy, God's not going to be happy about you using the Bible to lie to the people. They just keep doing.
Well, they got this.
Right?
They've got this
They're
line.
done.
All of a sudden, Democrats are quoting scripture. They're talking about Jesus.
Yeah.
You know, Democrats are desperate when they're talking about Jesus. But
that's exactly what I was thinking. Exactly what I was thinking.
They're saying, well, Jesus was an immigrant. They had, Jesus was born where he was born because they had to go back for the census, right?
Yep.
So they were not undocumented. Okay, Jesus, Joseph, and Mary were documented through Rome. That's why he was born in Bethlehem. This is nuts.
Yep. Things. According to the Democrats, I just love it. The Trump the administration, they're escalating things rapidly, and I'm like, okay, you mean their Democrats who commit crimes are actually getting arrested now, and
Yeah.
that is considered moving rapidly. I mean, the horror. Give me a break.
Well,
Trump.
These arrests of these judges. What I was talking about was they're preparing the American people for the bigger arrest. This is low hanging fruit that's clearly criminal, and people and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel gained a lot of credibility with the public with these arrests because these two judges are so clearly crooks.
Yes. Part of MAGA, part of making America great again, part of it, to get back to the normal from the crazy, is to make crime bad again.
That's right.
And the Democrats,
hey, listen.
they just don't want to do that.
I'm going to run. That was a good one. On that note, I can't, make crime bad again. I love it. That is great. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. This is Jerry from Arizona.
Hey, Jerry.
Hey, so I'm just thinking about these polls that you were talking about online.
Oh, hold on one second. Hold on one second. Let me answer these other phones. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, what about the polls?
Yeah, how many of these possibly can be bots?
Well, I believe, and President Trump has alluded to this, okay, in the election cycle. These polls, how do you know they even poll people, right? Right? They can they just release these things and say they did it. And the polls, I don't follow the polls. The only reason I ever talk about polls is to expose them. Mostly, and Steve Kane, he likes polls, so that's another reason. But all the internal, I give you an example, okay? After Trump beat Willie Brown's girlfriend, Kamala Harris, there were a few interviews with top campaign people of Kamala Harris who said their internal polls have been telling them for weeks that it was over. Okay, the internal polls that we never see are the scientific polls, and they're kept confidential. They're not allowed to release them. Any poll that the media has is a fake poll and a push poll. And right now they're trying to push this narrative that all the MAGA voters are regretting their vote. And it's amazing how many. Yeah, go ahead.
You know why they're trying to push it? It's because, like Dude said, they're running right now, and they're trying to focus on just certain types of things, so then they can hide the fact that their policies just are not working. They don't want us to focus on their policies, so they hit it just one little story fighting for MS-13 gang member when you can't even do the same thing for the American people is disrespectful.
Well, the Democrat Party has been completely rejected by the American people, and what they're doing, they're supporting this MS-13 wife beater, and this judge who had another man that beats women that she was helping escape, and they're taking such bizarre positions and backing such strange issues. They're alienating themselves from the little bit of support they still have.
Exactly, and it's sad. But you know what? I'm glad we have the president with the art of the deal, because with these judges that just got caught, I would not be surprised if they start squealing.
Especially the lady judge.
Yes. Yes. I know they're going to start squealing. So those higher levels, get ready.
See, there's a difference between the two judges. The judge in New Mexico with the wife, he knew he was a criminal. He knew eventually this would happen. This judge in Wisconsin is your typical Democrat, okay? She thought that she would be able to do this kind of stuff forever and never be accountable. She got caught off guard. She never thought she'd be held accountable, certainly not arrested. So she's in a complete panic right now. Yeah, so she may start squealing.
Yes.
All right, hey, listen, appreciate the call.
Well, thank you, Brian. You have a blessed day.
All right, take care. Yeah, if you're watching, this is the post show. We're on YouTube, not on the radio right now. You're welcome to call in. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Brian. Good morning. This is Mega Mark from Elkhorn, Iowa.
Hey, what's up?
I was listening to your survey this morning, and, I like to catch the fake news every morning, like NBC. So I was watching that survey poll they had, and there's a bottom line. It's from a Survey Monkey. What is that?
I have no idea. They did the ABC poll is an online poll, and usually what online polls are is they have the questions there, and you click the boxes. So it must be some type of polling software they use, is what my guess would be.
But anyways, I want to say God bless America, the veterans, my brothers, and keep voting for Trump.
That's right. Take care, man. That's right. Trump 2028. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian?
Yep, you're on the air.
Hey, IB, brother. How you doing?
Hey, IB.
I love the word facilitate when you're talking about what's he called? The guy, Maryland man. I like the word facilitate. She tried to facilitate a guy out the back door, and she got herself facilitated straight to jail. I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
When I saw it the other day, I was just cracking up. And you mentioned the robe thing, and when I saw her, and these Democrats, they always look like scraggly, But I'm thinking of that hive mind again. To even what would come over any person to do what she did in a courtroom with the people, everyone. The victims, when the lawyers are sitting out there in the benches, and she's running out the back door with the bad guy. I mean, like they say, you can't make this stuff up, right? So Biden say they have over 120 judges. I think it's a lot more than that, close to 200, and they're just sitting there waiting to do certain things. I think it's a good way to let action and reaction happening in real time, that because these people understand that they didn't go back in the past and to snag someone from the lawfare, which is kind of ironic in itself, the word law and lawfare, and now the people who supposed to administer laws in the proper and right way is having
I like it.
back against them.
I love perp walks. I love perp walks, and watching her walk out in cuffs and her robe was beautiful. I loved it.
I don't remember if her hands was her hands in the front or in the back, because I didn't remember. I wish it was in the back. I don't remember.
They might have been in the back. I can't remember.
I wish I was laughing. And the other thing is, when it comes to the polls, like this Democrat lady was singing, they try to be cute, like that crazy lady from Michigan. What's her name?
Whitmer.
Crazy lady who's
Whitmer.
So this lady was kind of like singing "Shake It Off." The hate is gonna hate, and then they go shake it off. So the polls is all about hate. The haters are gonna hate. They're gonna hate. That's all it is.
Yep.
And Steve, never Trumper Steve, calling in with that frantic kind of call, like a woman in hysteria.
Oh, he was in a panic.
I mean, bro,
we
got bigger issues.
He was trying to divert away from exposing that poll like nobody. It's almost like he was on a mission. Hey, IB, I appreciate the call. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. This is the most pro-Trump space anywhere, okay? Anywhere. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe. You'll love this channel, I promise you. And those of you that are already sub, please like the video. And if you could share the video on your socials, that would be great. too. All right, guys, I got to take off, but I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.